All right, we're live. Hello, everyone. Joanna here from Joanna Reads. Welcome to the Why Read show. This is the show that is close to my heart for many reasons. I might even actually get into a little bit of why I created the show. I've talked about it in other episodes, but I might get into it here because I think conversation could lead down that rabbit hole, I'm suspecting. But before we begin, the just to give you an idea of this show, it always begins with the why read question. And the why read question is another way of saying in a time when there are so many distractions competing for our attention or so many YouTube videos to be watched and everything, what inspires you to pick up a book? That is the number one question I'm always curious to hear different answers towards. And it could be the same answer, but the beauty of this question is it might change depending on different times in your life. So I am so honored to have here with me today Jake from Nerd Level Rising, fantastic channel, and another fantastic channel, Thomas R. Howell. So it is my pleasure to have these wonderful guests here. And we'll go ahead and start the why read question with Jake. Jake, please tell us what inspires you to pick up a book. You are a
All right.
busy doctoral student. I know you're doing a lot of research right now in your dissertation. What inspires you to get to that book at the end of the day or at the
Yeah.
beginning of the day?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I got to say thank you so much for having me. I love your channel. I've been watching Why Read for a long time. This is one of those that I was like, I get to be on Why. Like this is. I told my girlfriend about. Like this is cool. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Um, Why read? So for me, it's definitely a beginning of the day because if I don't do it first thing, it's just not going to happen. There's just too much stuff that gets in the way. Um, but for me, it's funny. It kind of started out early on as just sort of an escape and just like a fun whatever kind of thing. And then, like you said, it can evolve and it can change. And I think for me, it then sort of became this as I got older and learned more about myself. And I found out like, I just, I don't know. I have this, my psychology is kind of odd that I feel like my emotional bandwidth is like not 0 to 10, right? Sometimes it feels like it's like 3 to 7 or something. Um, so then to me, it's one of my favorite things. And I've heard Brandon Sanderson say this as well. And I really identified with that, where like when you get in the head of another character, it's a way for you to experience highs and lows emotionally that you might not experience yourself in your day-to-day life. So that became really, it just drew me in, just experiencing all these different things and learning more about empathy and all those things that you can learn from reading these wonderful fantasy books. And now it's sort of evolving even more so into like just learning about myself and the world and my place in it and how I think about things. And it like I feel like it's challenging me and making me grow as a human. And those are the sorts of books that I'm really seeking out these days. Are those more challenging ones? So that's the current chapter that I'm in. We'll see how it continues to go, but yeah, it's awesome. Like you said, there's so many distractions, but man, these books haven't let me down yet. You know?
Ah, that's such a wonderful answer. It's a refreshing answer too, because I love what you said about how your emotional bandwidth is maybe at a shorter level or
Yeah.
yeah, a lower level than maybe the books allow you to experience. I love that because as you're talking about that, it's making me think back on like when I was a teenager, I was very melodramatic. I still think I have a little bit of a melodramatic streak now and then, but I feel like I'm so much more mellow nowadays than I was when I was younger. I feel
Yeah.
like I was just a chaotic mess when I was younger. The hormones are going, and nowadays I'm so chill. But when I read books, it does allow me to experience a range of emotions that might not be in my life in the same way, you know?
Mhm.
Not to say I don't have bad days or good days or that I'm not emotional, but it's still it might be a little bit more muted compared to the stories I read, and so that's
Sure.
really interesting. I love that answer. That's really interesting, and I do agree, it does seem, from watching your channel, which is fantastic, it's been wonderful to watch your journey over this last year. It does seem like you've been reading a lot of, heavy epic fantasy and getting into some really interesting themes in your reading journey.
Man, for sure. Yeah, it's so funny. Like I started off and I just wanted the fun, exciting, the Cosmere and things like that. Obviously has depth to it, but like, it's not quite the it's not like Malazan, for example,
Mm.
or lately Wars of Light and Shadow, where I'm almost done with the first book of the Book of the New Sun now, or Sun Eater even. I know Thomas recently started Sun Eater, right?
Yep.
Like those are the things I feel so drawn to now, which is so funny because it's like my bandwidth is smaller than it usually is with grad school stuff, but I don't know, it works somehow.
Yeah, that is really opposite, I think, of most people who
Yeah.
are in graduate school, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and when I was in graduate school, I don't think I made as much time to read as I could have, but that's perfect. So
Yeah.
Thomas Howell, why read?
Well, I think I love the point that Jake made with like feeling emotions and like feeling things that you wouldn't necessarily have felt in your life. For me, I don't lean out to that. Although I want to feel, I've talked about that on my channel. I read to mainly slow down. Like you said, there's so many distractions, so many hobbies, and something I always talk about, social media. It just wraps us up. And I think reading, especially physically, it's just you and the book, you and the words, and you have to put in the legwork to read it and connect with it. And then when it grabs you, you're stolen. And there's no way to get back to the real world, maybe eventually, but I read for many reasons, as I'm sure a lot of us have, but really just to slow down. And I love, Jake, that you said you read in the beginning of the day.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it never gets done.
Yeah.
Uh, I love that. Why do you choose that versus bedtime? Because I
I
like bedtime sometimes.
I wish I could. I read a little bit before bed, but it's like 5 pages maybe, right? Like I'm usually I run on like 6.5 hours of sleep usually. Not by choice, but by necessity. And so usually when I lay down, I'm out. But it literally is just a logistic thing. That if I start working on something, there's just so like I just can't stop. I love my dad to death, but he gave me the workaholic gene, and my proclivity towards being like an entrepreneur and things like that is you know they spiral those two things together. So it's very difficult to take time in the middle of the day to like take a break or something, because like I don't feel like I love what I do, right? So I don't feel
Yeah.
like I need a break, which is great. But then towards the end of the day, it's like I'm just working, and then I guess I should eat dinner, and then it's bedtime. So it's if I don't read first thing, it just won't happen, which then drags down my mental health, and I don't want that either, right? So
Yeah, I'm the same way. I read in the morning. That's
Mhm.
most when I get most of my reading done. One, that's when my brain is most fresh, but I
Mhm.
also, I think we share this in common, I wanna say, or at least we were for a while, that you don't you read when you exercise, Jake? Or
Yeah,
is that
I
something
sometimes it depends on my mood. I'll either I'm a big anime fan as well, so I'll either watch an episode of something on my phone, or I'll have my Kindle and I'll read a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I'm the same way. I read walking on my treadmill,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
which I know is not I feel like that's interesting because I was watching your audiobook video recently, Thomas, and how you were talking about the need for quiet. But for some reason,
Mm.
when I'm walking on the treadmill, even though it's kind of got noise, I usually wear my AirPods even if I'm just reading visually because I don't know, I'm able to kind of zone in
Yeah.
and the movement I do that for a couple of reasons. One, because I have some back issues if I sit for too long. So walking helps me like free my back and then it helps me to focus because I'm getting the blood
I
flow.
I could totally see that. You know, I don't do ever since becoming a YouTuber, I don't reach out to always have a podcast or a YouTube video on. I used to always have that habit, and I still try to do it. It's like, okay, I got my food ready. What am I going to watch? And I'm like, well, I don't want to watch anything. And so even when I work out, I just kind of get in the mood of just working out and not having something in the background. So
Ah,
it's interesting. But to your point, when I did have, stuff in the background, there is a rhythm and a dance that works when you're working out and you're moving. And the audiobook is you're able to still pay attention to it. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but since
Mhm.
house chores and stuff, then it's like multitasking. It's like too much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can relate to that. There's something meditative about like exercise, right?
Yeah.
If it's not like maximal. Well, I guess that can be meditative in its own way, but um, something submaximal where you can just kind of, like you said, the rhythm. There's something about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you're doing the same movement over and
Mhm.
over, or taking breaks, doing sets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally
Um,
agree with that.
Thomas, you strike me as somebody who I will admit I haven't gotten to your channel yet. I'm sorry. Everyone has told me to watch your channel.
Oh, don't.
Uh,
I
I know
don't.
it's awesome, but
Stop. It's fine.
there's only so much time in the day, man. But
I get it.
I will get to it. But you strike me as somebody who's very good at being present. Like even just the things you've said on this
I
stream so
try to
far.
be.
Yes,
Yes.
I admire that a lot. I have a hard time with that, and I think that's such an important skill.
Yeah. I
I
think the
I
older I've
agree.
gotten, I've definitely like Joanna, like I've always been melodramatic. I still will be.
Mhm.
I'm a golden retriever at certain things. I get excited about little things, but especially being married for a year, I feel like I've definitely like
Mm,
slowed down a little more. And I think the more books I read and that kind of habit of reading has slowed me down and has made me appreciate and actually yearn for the slow and the quiet.
mm,
Um, I'm an extrovert and I'm very talkative. So this kind of if we were at a coffee shop, oh my gosh, my golden retriever meter would be up here. I'd be wagging my tail, I'd be so excited. Probably wouldn't let you talk. Um, but yeah, I guess the more I read, I'm just like
that's
slowing
cool.
down, being able to be present a little more, and yeah,
That's
That's
really cool.
so beautiful. I meditate every morning. That's actually the first thing I do. I usually wake up and I do it lying in bed because, again, I have a lot of back tension. So I just lie there and I meditate. I have like an app that plays a bell every 10 minutes. I try to just be quiet and be with my breath. And then I go from there to reading, but oh, yes, I highly value that space, and that's something that I love about your channel, Thomas. I wanna get into that a little bit, actually, because usually when I bring people together on Why Read, most of the okay, I put a lot of thought into the people I pair together on Why Read, which is why it sometimes takes me a while to ask certain people, because I put a lot of thought into who would pair well together, and the way you 2 ended up in the same episode is a little bit of a wild card, I'll be
okay,
honest, because what happened was I knew I wanted both of you on my channel at some point, and I think what happened was I I started to think about and I'm gonna bring him up, I'm gonna go and bring it up because he's become a new friend of mine. David from Four Corners of the
oh
Page,
yes,
He's the man.
love him, love his channel so
yes,
much, he and I have just become friends, I think I could say that, and I was thinking, "Oh, he would be perfect with Thomas, like, they just feel like they would have chemistry." But then I realized you 2 were just in a live stream together, and I was like, "Well, maybe
yeah,
I should do something a little different since you were just in a live stream together." And then I thought, "Oh, David and Jake, they both love Malazan. Oh, they were also on David's channel. Darn David, he's, like, stealing my guests' ideas." So then I thought, "But wait, they were both on David's channel. David is, like, the connection here, even though I need to have David
I
on my
love
and
that.
I will at some point." But
Yeah,
I like yeah, it was the idea was, okay, they were both on David's channel recently. I don't know if this will work, but I'm just gonna go for it, and I messaged David about this too. I told David all about this, and he was like, I think the one thing that they both have in common, though, is that they're both so laid back and, like, more unedited, I don't know, just more what you see is what you get kind of vibe,
Yeah.
and that's true, and that's what I love about both of your channels, is I feel like, I know, Jake, you don't edit your videos at all, and you just go all in one go.
Yeah.
Like,
love
"Here we
that.
go, Wars of Light and Shadow, here's all this
Love
world
that.
building, A, B, C, D." I don't know how you do it all in one take, but you do it all in one take.
Yeah.
It
It's not
absolutely
perfect, but
brilliant.
hey, you know?
You make it work, though,
Thanks.
and then and Thomas, the same thing, I think Thomas I've been watching more of your channel and just I don't know, it just kinda came to me the other day that something I love about your channel is you not it's okay, your thumbnails, you present yourself in just a normal way. You
Yeah.
did those mock thumbnails in a few of your videos of you going like,
Yes.
"Whoa!" Oh, look at my
Whoa!
confetti. Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Like, "Wow!"
Yeah.
And you know that you could do that if you wanted to, but you don't. You're just very, like, looking down or,
Yeah, I
um,
can't.
just relaxed. And then when you watch the video, what you see is what you get. So, like, what you
Yeah.
see on the thumbnail, you click on the video, that's what you get.
Yeah.
You get Thomas saying, "I like slow books.
Yeah.
I like to take my time
Yeah.
drinking coffee." And it's
Yeah.
just like it's so chill and
Yeah.
it's so
Thank you.
it's just so relaxing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's authentic, and I
Thank
feel
you.
like that's the commonality I'm going for here. These are 2 channels. If you're not subscribed, you need to subscribe to both.
Oh,
They
yeah.
both have a different vibe, but they both do the same thing, which is that what you see is what you get, that it's a very authentic, conversational, chill, relaxed, easy watching experience. That's where I'm going with this.
Amazing. That's amazing feedback. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I want to second that also, Thomas. I love your. It's like I've been thinking about this quite a bit lately. My real job is pretty social media heavy also, and I hate it. But
Yeah.
like the idea of like anti-algorithm stuff, I think is just awesome. And so I respect you for doing that for sure. I think it's really cool, and it
Yeah.
suits everything, right? So
Yeah, it's crazy that it actually, like, my goal wasn't to, have 8,000 subscribers in less than a year, ever. But I don't know. I didn't study the algorithm. I didn't study that you have to have keywords and all that. I just let me just show you what I love and tell you what I love and have that be that. And I'm very thankful for this little corner that we have. It's the algorithm heavy stuff is what exhausts me. But again, people make money doing it and it works for them. That's their livelihood. So you got to do it. But yeah, for me, I'm just like, hey, it's my thumbnail's gonna. I don't know. Am I gonna put a word on it? Am I gonna put a title on it? I don't know. Am I gonna put a book on it? Am I gonna be smiling? Am I gonna be like, oh, whoa? I don't know.
I got a kick out of that video.
Yeah.
I gotta watch this video, I guess. Huh?
It was funny. Yeah.
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 It seemed
I
like
did a lot of short films back in the day on my old channel. So
Mm.
I haven't acted in a while, but I did some crazy comedies, and
Interesting.
that's a little taste of what I could offer. But I don't know. I don't know if it's on brand anymore.
Well, you got the coffee, you got the books. That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Like, that's the vibe.
Yeah.
Have you watched Better Than Food? I think you
Yes, I
Yeah.
have. He is very hard for me to follow. I love his channel, but he just dives right in, and I'm just like, whoa, hold up, can we like slow down a little bit? But I initially found him through this one video that I think it's like 5 things that are destroying your reading, one of which just changed the way I read books, and that is do not read to have read. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's it. I
Yeah.
texted my sister that, texted my uncle that. I'm like, guys, this is it. Because people are always talking about, oh, I read this many books, or oh, I'm, the attitude of just trying to finish a book is sad, because I mean, it's great. Okay. It's great that you're pushing yourself to read. And I'm like, reading is great. But I'm always about motivation and attitude behind it, behind your reasoning and behind anything. And when it comes to reading, when you approach reading with, not to have read, I think that's just, I don't know. That's just me.
Yes, I was talking about this, with my friend Jimmy, from Fantasy Network. You and I were talking about this at one point about how sometimes there seems to be this big thing about wanting to be well-read versus actually enjoying the reading experience, like taking time to
Yeah.
enjoy the reading experience.
Mm.
And actually
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but that's actually a huge inspiration for why I started Why Read. It's a huge inspiration. So a little story about me is that I know a lot of people talk about burnout and booktube influencing you to read too much and all of that kind of stuff. I wouldn't say BookTube necessarily has done that to me, but something I've always been self-conscious of, even since I was a child, and BookTube didn't help, I'll say it this way, is that I'm a very slow reader. I'm a very, very
Mm.
slow reader. So even when I started watching BookTube a few years before I started a channel, it made me feel a little bit down on my inability to read books super fast because I would watch these channels who talked about, "Oh, I only read 12 books this month." And and it would make me feel defeated, like, "Oh my goodness, like, I should be able to read faster than I do. Like, what is my problem? Why can't I process language quickly? What's my problem?" So I felt like I had a real, like, learning disability or something. I don't know if that's the
Mm.
case or not, but I was really down on myself about it. And then, I don't know, I knew that was gonna bother me when I started a channel. I knew it was gonna make me feel more self-conscious about the fact that if I do a wrap up, I might talk about 4 books, maybe even 3, like, and, maybe even 2, like, the year I was reading Malazan Book of the Fallen, that December, I only read 1 book, and that was The Crippled God. That was book 10. That's all I read all month. And, so, yeah, I'm not a fast reader, and it's something that I've struggled with. And when I started a channel, it did start to get to me after a while that I hadn't the ability it wasn't necessarily that I wanted to be well read or, have as much read. It was more like I wanted to be able to keep up in some way.
Mm.
And, it saddened me, but I started to think about it. I'm like, "Yeah, but okay, why do you read? Why do you read? Is it because you wanna just be ahead of everything and you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
thought, I love to read because I love to be in a book and in a story. I
Yeah.
love the experience of story more than just having finished the book. And it made me realize, well, maybe that's what I can contribute. I'm not a quantitative person by nature. I'm far more
I don't even know
qualitative.
what that word is, so that's awesome.
What was that?
I don't even know what that word is.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you
So
know?
quantitative, I'm just thinking in like research terms or numbers, descriptive research, graphs, surveys, it's basically the numbers
Yeah.
game.
I know
Qualitative
that term all too well. Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
you're
okay,
doing
well,
probably a
I guess
quantitative
I'm
study, I'm
that as
gonna
well.
imagine. Yeah? I wanna hear about that, by the way. And I do appreciate stuff like that, by the way. I do love research and stuff, but yeah, I just feel like I can bring value by offering what's meaningful in the reading experience.
I love
And
that.
you
Yeah.
know, instead
That's
of talking about how many books I read and
Yeah.
then stats and all of that stuff, I could talk about,
Mhm.
why was this book special and what do I think it had to bring to
Yes.
the genre
Or
and
like what this lamppost means in, The Great Gatsby, just, like,
yeah,
overanalyzing
Mm.
something. It's like, "Okay, I just
I like
I
that
enjoy
kind of
reading a book about a boy, alright?
we
Just
have to talk about
have
that.
that, you know?
Yes.
But,
Yeah,
I
yeah, go ahead, Jake.
go ahead,
I was
Jake.
gonna say, I as a slight joke, I guess I agree with that to a very large extent. Except me reading Book of the New Sun now, I'm just like every little sentence. I'm like, what does this mean? And trying to like really uh, uncover. I'm on a mission to be like one of the people in this read along that catches the most stuff. I'm on a mission, and I'm sure
Uh,
I'll fail, but I'm gonna try.
I love it.
I can't
That's
wait to hear everything that you catch because there's a lot in that
Oh,
series for
dude,
sure.
wow, it's great though.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
great.
doing a live stream with, David, I think on Monday. We're gonna be talking about Empire of Silence.
Let's go. Let's go. Although I hear you weren't quite as crazy about it as
Yeah,
I
and
was, at
also
least.
I'm just a little sad because I need to freshen up on the content, the story, because it's gone.
Ah, it blows my
Uh,
mind, man.
I
It's okay.
know, I know, I'll figure it out, but I'll be ready. We'll have stuff to talk about for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Regardless, there's plenty of positives to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I understand what you mean.
yeah.
I will. Oh yeah, John saying I won't outdo Rakia with the book news on stuff. That's true. I can be second anyway. Joanna, I don't want to skip over what you said. I love that you shared all that, and I think that that is so important. And that's like those are the kind of videos that I really love. Are people who can like really get in there and talk about why they, rather than just like, oh, this was great, cool, but like why was it great? Why did you like
Yeah,
it so much? And um, I think that when people read so many books, there's only like your video. People aren't going to make 2-hour videos all the time, right? Like you can only talk about a book for so many minutes, and then if you have 15 books, it's just spread so thin. So I love it when you can like actually get into the meat of a story a
Yeah.
little bit more. And I mean, I probably read like 3 books a month or something these days, right? Like it's not 3 or 4, depending on how long they
Oh,
are.
really?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
I didn't
I've
know that.
had I've had months where I like when I read Curse of the Mystery, that was like the only book I read that month. Like it's just
Hmm.
it ebbs and then I'll have a month where I read 5 books or something. But like, there's only so much time in the day and I want to actually absorb it. Like I identify so much with what both of you guys have said. Like the whole point is the story, right? It's not about how many books you read in the month. Like it's sort of meaningless at the end of
Yeah,
the
it's all
day.
about your motivation and like just thinking objectively, in life and approaching
Yeah.
anything with objectivity and always asking why. And I love books because there's always that why. And you talk about kind of reviews and videos. There's plenty of book reviews out there. There's probably 1,000 for each book out there. Um, and that's great. And they're there for a reason, but there's only so much you can say about a book. This is good, this is bad, I like this. And they're all based off of an opinion, subjective, opinion. But what I love is when people reflect and reflection versus a review. I think that's kind of what
Mhm.
I do a little more. Talk about that connection to the human experience and what I felt and why versus chapters 1 through 3 are good because of this and then like the I don't know the word, but just the
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know what you mean. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, now I'm like reflecting. I'm like, man, I could definitely do a better job of that about like why, not just why I liked it, but like why I connected with it so much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
And
think
I'm
a
not
book's
saying that's the right way
valuable.
to do it. I just
Sure.
appreciate that. Sorry,
Yeah.
I talked over you.
No, no, no. You're fine.
No.
Yeah, I like
I
that.
I I I'm kind of, like, called by many of my friends, like, the theme-driven reader person because I love themes. Tho that's what I read for. That's my
Yeah.
favorite thing in story. I love characters as well. I am far less of a plot-driven reader. So, it's not that I can't appreciate a good plot. I can be like, "Oh, wow, bamboozled by the sudden twist or the sudden way things come together that I didn't expect." I can appreciate that, but I'm way more enamored by themes. But what I
Mm,
mean by themes are just the aspects of the human condition or human experience that's conveyed through the story that transcends the story, something that is there in the story, reflected in the story, but it's something that could be reflected in human nature.
yeah.
So like my
Yeah.
last video was on, 2 literary fiction books, which is probably not gonna reach a wide audience as my channel tends to be more fantasy focused, but it's 2 literary fiction books that are very slice of life, and to me, the reason I loved those books and they spoke to me so much, even though they were male protagonists in a different time, different place in history, that I will never be. I will never be these men, but I felt through these men the question of what it means to lead a meaningful life, and what it means to live with regret.
Mm.
It evoked those kind of questions for me. So those are the stories that I find most poignant and meaningful to me is when they can make me think back on the human experience, whether it's my life or just humanity at large,
Amen.
when it can make me look at I just love that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's like my favorite reason to read, but yeah, I mean, everyone's a little bit different in what they pull from a story. So even if
Mhm.
there are 1,000 different reviews out there for the same book, there can be something interesting and valuable to share about different
Exactly.
stories.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that people aren't their opinion isn't valuable. Everyone is valuable. They have something of value to offer, and I think everyone should have a YouTube channel. Um, it's a lot of work, but you always have something of value to
That's
offer,
true.
and
Yeah.
especially in the book space, everyone's
And
voice needs to be heard.
and I'm sure that's why your discussion with David about Sun Eater is gonna be fantastic because you both are different readers. So you're
Yeah.
gonna pick up on different things, and that's just gonna add richness to the conversation. I'm sure Jake noticed this in his own journey through Words of Light and Shadow so far, But I know, like, whenever I've had discussions about that series with Philip and AP Canavan, that's a Critical Dragon and Philip Chase, by the way, um, it the 3 of us always find such different we have such different perspectives and have such
Yeah.
different things that we find in the book to contribute, and then it's like, "Oh, wow, I didn't think about the book that way," and so
Yeah.
it just adds something really dynamic and interesting.
Absolutely. Those I was just talking with Nikhil from Shelf Esteem
Mm,
yesterday. Another amazing channel. He's the
yeah,
man.
it's
But
lovely.
we were
Mm.
talking about how it's so fun to read a book, but then when you read a book and then talk about it with friends who also read it, one, it's even more fun, but two, like you just learn more about the book itself, but also about you. Like, why did you get the things you got from the story while somebody else got something else? And
Mm.
it's just such a become probably my favorite thing about BookTube, is like the friends that you make, but then also like just I don't know, like you learn more about yourself through those friends, your interactions with them. It's like it's just I don't know, it's so cool. It's so much more than just talking about cool books, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, like we just did our Light and Shadow read along. We did our discussion for Ships and Marior, and like it's like everybody's getting emotional at the end of this discussion because we're just like, this is so awesome that we get to do this with each other. And it's like it's such a special thing, man. BookTube is awesome.
Yes, I completely agree with that. Yeah. I think the only, like, exceptional experience I've had to that, which was funny, is the last buddy read I had. I buddy read Ship of Magic by Robin Hobb, which, by the way, Thomas, I have to talk to you about Robin Hobb in this discussion.
Yeah.
I read Ship of Magic and, alongside Bookborn, um, and it was a weird experience because I kept expecting us to have different takes or different things, and I felt like that wasn't the case at all. Like, everything we thought was, like, exactly the same, like, the exact same. But I have to say, speaking of Robin Hobb, Ship of
Yeah.
Magic, I haven't had an experience like that in a long time where
Everyone
I
says
just
that. It's
wasn't
crazy.
here. I was in that story. I could read for hours and just not even it wasn't effort. It wasn't effort at all. It was just story. It was
And this is
just
her
being
second
in there.
trilogy from Assassin's
Yes,
Creed? Oh, I love that. Yeah.
yes. I mean, I loved Farseer. I loved the
Yeah.
first trilogy. Live Ship takes it I mean, I don't know if I'm just not same as what Bookborn said in her video. I don't know if it's just I'm a different reader now or if I just forgot how good of a writer she is. But that Ship of Magic was on a whole other level of fantasy for me, just on a whole other level of, like, character work for me. I felt like I just kept replaying scenes after I put the book down for a little while, and I kept on thinking about what happened to this character, and is this character gonna be okay? And I was just I haven't been invested to that level in a long time. Like,
Mm.
I could easily just read for hours and hours and hours and not get tired.
I love that. I yeah,
Amazing.
and my sister said it's her favorite trilogy. So,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Okay.
And she loved Name of the Wind like me, and but she also reads a lot of you know, romantasy books and a lot of the fun romance books. But the fact that she's like, this is
That's
just
awesome.
perfect. Like,
I
Oh,
gotta read.
it's
I haven't read any Robin Hobb yet. I really need to.
all right, join me. Let's do it. Let's go.
same. Please do it. Oh
Be
my
fun.
goodness.
You
I
just gotta
don't I
find the
just I
time.
think she's the best character writer in fantasy.
That's what I
I'm
hear.
I
That's what
agree.
I
I'm
yeah,
hear.
only 100 pages in. Talk about me being slow. It's been, I don't know, 15 days since I announced I was doing this.
that's
Haven't
okay
been
though.
doing.
That's okay to
Yeah,
take
what's
your
wrong with that?
time. Yeah.
For sure.
I know, and
That's
I'm happy about that because it's like I always say you can only read a book for the first time once, and
Yes.
I don't want to rush through this.
yeah.
Like, this is so good. Like, she could be talking about just a pathway and how winter is surrounding this pathway, and I'm just like, and it's like two sentences. I just I don't know. You just sit on something. I'm like, this is a true writer. She knows what she's doing.
Yes. In
Awesome.
Farseer trilogy, it's all in first person perspective from a
Yeah.
character named Fitz's perspective, but every character comes to life in such a powerful, vivid way. And I've read a lot of first-person narratives that don't necessarily do that much heavy lifting when it comes to other character work. But Robin Hobb, she just knows how to quickly get to the heart of characters
Mm.
Yep.
faster than any other fantasy writer I've ever read from. But in Live Ship, the beauty of Live Ship is it's multi-POV.
Oh, I
So you
can't.
have
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
oh, it's so
Yeah.
good. They're just and it wasn't like every time I'd finish a section and go to the next, I it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm sad to leave this character and go to a different character." Every character, I was like, "Oh, I'm here for it. Let's go, let's go, let's go." Like, I lived for every perspective in that story. Almost. There was one exception, but I still loved oh my gosh. Jake, you're gonna love Robin Hobb.
You
I
guys can't do this to me. Uh,
no. You're gonna love it.
uh,
It is a slower paced style, so and I know you can get behind a slower paced style, so,
yeah,
like, yeah.
yeah, for sure. I want it's one of those that like it's the same as like the rest of the first law. I've only read the original trilogy first law books, right? Like I keep pushing certain things off, and I think it's because I know it's going to be like an all-time favorite, and I just don't
Yeah,
want it to be over.
exactly.
So yeah,
That's why I
it's
pushed
tough.
this off. It's
I
for
did the same thing.
years.
Yeah.
I did the same thing because I read the Farseer trilogy, I think the 1st or 2nd year I was on BookTube, and it's
Okay.
been a couple of years, and I
Yeah.
finally started Live Ship. People have been getting after me, like, people have been like, "When are you gonna start? When are you gonna start?" It's been, like, on every yearly TBR, and,
Uh-huh.
finally I did. I finally bit the bullet. It's, "John, you're going to be in heaven with Live Ship. You are talking story here. You gotta pick it up. You're gonna love it. You're going to love it. It's so immersive. It's so immersive. It's so visceral. It's so heart. It's so heart. Like it, that's the word I just want to use.
I love that.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice when there's sort of an unconventional word like that that just fits stuff so like from like the one that always comes up to mind for me is like honest for Malazan. Like it's
Mm.
just I love it when you can find a word that just fits a series so perfectly rather than like exciting or something like that. It's always cool.
Yes, yes. I mean, I would say that's the one thing I would say about Robin Hobb. She gets to the heart of a character faster than any other author
But
I've
it
read from,
never
and I
feels
love
rushed.
Malazan, but yeah.
That's the thing. She takes her time with it, and
Mm.
she doesn't waste words, and it feels
Mm.
like every word and every sentence is like adds to that character and that the painting that she's painting, and it's just I'll read 2 or 3 sentences and then I'll just sit back and be like, "Oh my gosh, it's just too good." Read
Yeah.
again, like, "Oh my gosh." And then, my wife's reading Dungeon Crawler Carl and we're just sitting at a coffee shop and she's laughing about Humptown and I'm, tearing up because, something happened. It's just
That's so
it's so
funny. It sounds like you need to read some Janie Wirtz as well then. Sounds like that's right up your
Yeah,
alley.
Philip Chase has mentioned Janie Wirtz a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. It sounds like she's right up the same things
What
that
a
you're talking
name
about loving
too.
about Hob. Oh
Never
yeah.
heard of that, like, until he brought it up, so
Yeah. There you go. Sounds like
I
a
would
perfect fit.
highly recommend reading To Ride Hell's Chasm before biting the bullet into the 11 book series just to get a taste test of her style because her
Yeah.
style
Yeah.
is going to be the most divisive thing I think when it comes to a fantasy reader. I have some friends here on BookTube who just straight up told me privately, they're like, "It's just too flowery for me." And I mean, I wouldn't use that word for
It
describing her
blows my
prose
mind.
because I
Yeah.
think every word she is extremely intentional with every
Ooh,
single word.
okay, see, then you sold me on that.
She is intentional, but for some people it is,
Have you
like, they
guys
would
read The Last Unicorn?
I loved Last Unicorn. I
So,
reread that last year.
why
It's
is
one of
no
my
one
favorite
talking
rereads.
about this?
I
What is
talked
this?
about it. I
I
talked
know,
about
but I'm
it.
talking, like, mainstream. Like, you talk about Robin Hobb, you talk about Brandon Sanderson, Lord of the Rings, like, why aren't we talking about this classic, The Last Unicorn? It blew my mind.
Yeah, I agree.
1960 something.
Brilliant book. Have you seen the movie?
No, because I don't want it to taint my
Ah,
I
I love
will.
the movie too,
I will.
but
I'm sure I'll love it, but that
it's
book is
beautiful book. I love the prose in that book. The opening line of that book, I should go
oh,
get it off my shelf.
it's the sea foam. What? Oh my gosh.
I've never
It's
heard of this.
Okay, I'm gonna get my book.
go get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Last
Read it out.
Unicorn.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm just going to open up the opening line. Patrick Rothfuss has an introduction. That's
Yep.
probably why you picked it up, huh?
Oh, it's the exact reason why.
I
Captain
knew it.
Douglas recommended the book.
Listen to this opening line. It's so beautiful. The unicorn lived in a lilac wood, and she lived alone. She was very old, though she did not know it, and she was no longer the careless color of sea foam, but rather the color of snow falling on a moonlit night.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, evocative, and it's got light touches of like meta humor in it, where it's like
Mm,
very aware of fairy tales, and the characters are like, "I know I'm the hero of the fairy tale, and
Mhm.
this is what I should do."
interesting.
But it's so beautiful. It's a very melancholic story too.
Very,
I
Uh,
like that.
yeah,
very,
yeah,
yeah.
it deals with regret. I love stories that deal with regret for some reason.
I do too,
Um,
actually. There's
yeah.
what does that say about us?
I
That it's
know!
like the darker emotions are always my favorite things to read. It's like Toll the Hounds is my favorite Mladen book.
Ah,
And like there's just that's always that's why I like Hadrian so much. Sun Eater. Like
ah,
there's just so much. You give me like a sad boy any day, I'm here for it.
yeah,
And it's just so interesting. I don't
it
know.
means we're emo, Jake.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a phase, mom. It's still here. Yeah.
It means we're emo fantasy readers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree. Oh, The Last Unicorn is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. No, tell us why you love it though, Thomas. I'm sorry.
I
I
mean,
wanna hear your
number one, it's because it was my favorite author's favorite book, Patrick Rothfuss. I know that's a hot take, Patrick Rothfuss, but no one writes like Patrick Rothfuss. I don't care what anyone says. It's unreal. But I saw a booktube video by Captured by Words, captured something like that.
Mhm.
That's
Couldn't.
right.
And then yeah, he was talking about favorite authors, favorite books, and I learned Patrick Rothfuss's favorite book is The Last Unicorn, and that he had written a little opening to it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna read this right after Wheel of Time, and it's perfect. Read it in like 2 days. I'll definitely read it again and again and again and again. And it's I don't know. It's beautiful, and I think it's just a nice little package of a fantasy book. I think of The Hobbit, and then I think of The Last Unicorn. I feel like those are the two books that, if you want to get into fantasy, mm, the language may be a little much for like just people who've never read fantasy, but I still think try it, because like, guys, this can be fantasy. Like
Yeah.
a lot of us think it's Brandon Sanderson, like which it is now, but uh language is just so, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyways.
He's still writing, by the way. He
Yeah,
just
that's
published a book.
he wrote a book about like a dragon exterminator.
Hmm.
I want to read that. That
Yeah.
sounds like
Cool.
fun. That sounds like there's going to be some twists to that, but
Yeah.
That's awesome.
he's a great writer.
He
Anyway,
is. I read
I didn't say anything, I don't think I gave you a complete thought, but I'm just rambling.
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, I read this when I was a teenager, and I have to say that the reread experience was usually when I reread books, I don't usually find that my emotions change that much between the first read and the second read. I loved it the first time, but I really loved it the second time. I think I loved it
Love
more
that.
the second time as an
Love that.
adult. Yeah, I think it meant more. I think I got it was interesting because I remember when I read it as a teenager, I had seen the movie and I was thinking, "Wow, the movie is extremely true to the book." Like, I thought, "This is a pretty apt, representation." And I remember my then friend said, "No, like, the book is so much deeper." And I didn't really quite get that at the time, and then this time when I reread it, I'm like, "No, there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of metaphor, there's a lot of depth there that I think I didn't quite pick up the first time." So, yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
there's a lot
Yeah.
All
more
right.
there.
All right.
Mm,
That'll go on my list.
But
yay.
it's an easy read, like, as
Mhm,
in
easy read. Mhm.
it's it flows like a lyrical, it is poetry, I feel like, but it's a book you can read in a day if you want. I wouldn't advise it because I think you should take your time with it. Maybe take 3 days. But uh
I would love to talk about Name of the Wind, though. Jake, have you read Patrick
I
Rothfuss?
haven't. It's another one
Oh,
I got to get to still.
Hey, don't worry
yeah,
about it. It's fine.
yeah.
That's
It's
good.
mhm,
You'll have
There
your
you
whole
go.
life to be able to read that,
I
and when you
agree.
do, you'll be like, "Wow."
Yeah.
yeah.
I should have done this sooner. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
you'll be thankful. You'll be like, "Okay." Like, when you push something off,
Yeah.
it'll be worth it, just like
Yeah.
this.
I think so too.
yeah. Yeah, no, so I have a funny story about Name of the Wind, and I've been so eager to talk with you about it, Thomas, because I know
Oh,
it's your
boy.
favorite, right? It's actually my husband's favorite
Okay,
fantasy as well. He
good.
read it a few years ago. He picked it up, and it just opened up this whole world for him. Like he didn't realize, I don't know, it just kind of awakened something in him. And then he tried Stormlight. He tried Brandon Sanderson's Way of Kings, and didn't vibe with it at all.
Mm.
But he loved Rothfuss's writing. The funny thing about that story is that I actually picked that up towards the beginning of when I was getting back into fantasy after a long, long break, and I loved it. I loved The Name of the Wind, and but the weird thing for me is that I read The Wise Man's Fear. I actually think I might have liked the first half of The Wise Man's Fear almost more than Name of the Wind, but then I ended up loving Name of the Wind more
Yeah.
by the time I finished The Wise Man's Fear. However, the strangest thing happened to me, which is, I was reading, I took my time back then 'cause it was, like, way before BookTubes. I was reading, like, just a few pages a day. I was just trying to get back into reading back then. But I must have gotten so immersed in that story because at one point when I was towards the end of Wise Man's Fear, I ended up having a dream that I met Kvothe, and I could see Kvothe in vivid detail. I kid you not. I could see him before me like he was a real person, and I was talking to him. And I woke up and I was like, "How did that happen?" Like, I've never to this day dreamed of a book character in vivid detail like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
Wow.
unreal.
Okay.
So if
Wow.
Yeah,
that tells you
I've
anything about, I
never.
guess Rothfuss did a good job with that character
Yeah.
because I did feel like I knew Kvothe by the end of
Oh,
that
yeah.
second book.
Yeah, you do, and you feel his feelings too.
Mhm.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Mm.
I, it opened my eyes to fantasy. Um, and yeah, sadly, I was in the middle of Harry Potter when I veered off course. So I finished book 1 and book 2 of Harry Potter, and then I went to, Name of the Wind. I'm like, "Yeah, okay, this is the real deal for me." And as an adult, it just this is what reading can be. This is what fantasy can be for me. And that's just what I look for now in a book. Not like I'm comparing everything to Name of the Wind, but that level of intentionality and care, character work. Everyone says world building, it's such a buzzword, but the way Rothfuss world builds is so candid and just natural and organic, and it just kind of unravels like a ball of yarn, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't feel like world building is very like, hey, look at me, I'm an author, I'm world building. It's like this is a real world, this is a real story, these are real characters.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. So now that I'm on Robin Hobb, I'm like, okay, I'm at home again.
That's beautiful.
It is
Yeah.
beautiful. I do hope you finish Harry Potter at some point though.
Oh, I did. Sorry. I
Yeah.
admit
Okay.
that. I did.
Okay.
And it wasn't the
We're good
same
then.
going back to it. It wasn't the same. I finished all of Rothfuss's work, then I went back. Oh, it was so weird.
Comparison's tough. That's happened to me with
Because
a couple
when
things.
something is set, like your standard is set, um, sometimes I can't help but compare,
Yeah.
which is so bad.
It's
Um,
the thief of joy. That's what my friend recently told me.
oh
Lectin
my gosh,
recently told me. I'm like,
absolutely.
yeah, I've had that issue. I've totally had issues with comparison
Yeah.
hurting my reading experience. Yes.
But I think
Yeah.
now an adult reader, I'm doing that much less. I'm going into it, taking deep breaths, and I'm like, okay, it's a new book, new author, new style. Let's just read it for what it is
Yeah.
and throw everything else out the door.
Yeah.
And that's just
Mm.
helped me immensely. And I think Stephen King has helped me with that because Stephen King is just the perfect palate cleanser. He's
Yes.
Mhm.
just the perfect I hate to use the word simple, but it's just he knows how to spin a tale, just a simple story it just like it doesn't, it's not like Malazan and all these other things with like, homework and spreadsheets and stuff. It's just, this is a book, this is a tale. It may not be crazy emotional, but it's I don't know. It's
I
just a
don't know.
fun.
Stephen King can go pretty far out there, though. I read the Dark Tower series.
Mhm.
That is a
Maybe
wild,
I've only read a handful of his
wild
stuff.
ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I highly recommend, Jake, if you haven't read any Stephen King,
It's
I
another
highly
one. You guys are making
recommend.
me look bad.
No,
No, no.
no, 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 and
No,
I
I'm
I
kidding.
feel bad, like, I'm like,
I'm
"You
kidding.
should do this," but Pet Cemetery, oh my gosh, I think is a masterpiece. That would
I've
be the one I'd
heard
recommend.
I've heard I've had that someone else has told me that as well. And then I've also heard if you don't have kids, it might not hit as hard as it will if you did.
I don't have kids, but
It still hit pretty hard.
it
Okay.
did. Actually, to be honest, I hope this is not major spoilers, but I my cat who was very dear to me died this last year. I lost
Hmm.
both my cat and dog last year. It was a hard year,
Yeah.
but, uh, I was really grateful that I read that book a year before
Mm,
because I think it would have been too hard to
sure.
have
Yeah.
read that book after my cat died.
Yeah, I can imagine.
If you're going through grief, it could be much. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, if you have kids, I think it could be way harder for sure.
Yeah, I could see that. I've heard I don't know, it feels even weird to call them spoilers for that. I don't know. Like I
Mhm.
generally know what happens, but I still it's another one that's on the list. We'll
Brilliant
get
book.
there. We'll get there.
Yeah, brilliant book. 11/22/63, also brilliant.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I'm
haven't
not
read
the
it.
most well-read Stephen King reader, but I have read some now, and
Yeah.
I agree, he could be a great palate cleanser. That's well said, Thomas. Yeah.
You need that sometimes, right? Like books with prose like that is I'm the same way. That's what I'm seeking out more and more. But at the same time, if everything is like that, it no longer stands out, right?
Yep.
It's not really so special anymore. So I think you need the different styles, and you need the
Yeah.
more
Amen.
straightforward.
Yep.
What like I love the Drizzt books, right? And it doesn't get much more simple than those, but they're great, and it's a nice way to break some other things up, and you know, whatever.
Yeah.
That variety is amazing.
And then to
Oh,
challenge yourself with something a little deeper, something
Yeah.
that goes a little beneath the surface, um, and then go back and forth. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
And that helps you kind of answer that question, like, why am I reading? Especially when you're just reading the same thing over and over
Hmm.
again. I think that's great that people are reading, but if all you're reading is that same book over and over, as in like the same book written by 15 different authors in the year of 2024, that's a copycat league now,
Sure.
and I'm a little sad when people don't challenge themselves. I think it's important to challenge yourself as a reader, but in your own time, because
Hmm.
when that comes, it's like, okay, you'll be ready. Because yeah, when you're reading the same thing over and over, it's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Not even, it's the same story. Um, Real quick, I don't mean to take all this, but when you talked early on about that you're not a plot driven reader, I'm not either. Because when you're reading for the plot, you're almost reading for that three-act structure. You're anticipating those tropes and those twists and those turns and the rising action and the falling action and all that. And that's what I love about certain authors and even Stephen King. It's it's a great plot, but when the characters are there, you you're lost within the character and you don't even really care about the plot because
Mm.
you're focused on the character. You're not anticipating anything because then when that thing happens, you're like, oh my gosh, that happened to the character. I'm so sad. I'm so scared. I'm so excited.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna read a couple of comments here
Yeah.
really quickly. So, John here says, "King cuts to the heart of the experience we all share through a funhouse mirror." That's so well said. And I just wanna say to, your true self that I lost 2 pets in the last year too. Ah, I send you big hugs back. It was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. My cat and dog they were part of my life since my husband, actually. My husband
Mm.
brought them into my life when I met him, and, so they were part of our lives for the last 10 years, and
Yeah.
It's really difficult. So I'm sending my love back to you, your true self.
Yeah.
And, Matt here says, "Not a big King fan, but Pet Sematary is the real deal."
Mm.
Yeah. And, yes, Stephen King, he says this in the foreword of the book that Pet Sematary is the scariest book for him. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not like a jump scare type of book, but it's like a psychological
Mm.
horror. And yes, I think it also like powerfully explores grief and death in a supernatural horror novel. It's absolutely brilliant the way
That's
it
awesome.
does that. Mhm. Yes, variety is the slice of life. Um, says hello, men in yellow coats. Okay, really wowed me this month. All right, and yes, never read King. Horror gives me insomnia. Oh my gosh, it is hard to sleep when you read a King novel. I will say that it's not exactly bedtime stories. That's for sure. Yes. Yeah, so I completely agree about what you all were saying, like, the plot-driven reading, I think it has a place, like, sometimes
It's a
like I said, I
style.
can appreciate a good
Yeah.
plot, I can appreciate it, but I find that that's yeah, if that's what the book is really pitched for, or that's the appeal of the book, that's usually not my thing, so I just figure that's gonna be for a different audience than me,
Yeah.
Mm.
but yeah, I do,
And
I
network
love
television, those cop shows,
yeah.
NY fire department shows, that you see on Channel 5 or something, and it's like, "Okay, they're gonna save the day again at the end of this episode." Like, that's for an audience, whereas
Mhm.
other people want to feel something and to be, lost with certain characters in a film, and same thing goes with books.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
They are relentless.
They are
I
I love
know.
relentless.
it, and don't stop. Continue to keep convincing me, because it's
I'm
gonna
not
happen.
gonna I actually don't recommend Malaz widely. I love it. It's my so if you watched my
I
top
recommend
10
Wheel of
series
Time
video,
wildly.
it's my number 1 favorite series. And then, I don't wanna spoil Jake's top 10, but I know it's really high up there for Jake too. And
Yep.
I like but the thing is, it's really hard to widely recommend that series for me because one thing that I always feel like I have to say about Malazan, major, major trigger warnings. I'm not saying that you can't handle the triggers, Thomas. I understand that. But I do feel like I need to say that because I never say it enough. Like there is a huge amount of essay in the book, almost like every book,
Mm,
to the point where some people even quit the series at book 9 because it's so graphic in one particular
Mhm.
chapter. And the other thing is that um, it's not a straightforward narrative, like, I know some people can get behind that, but a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people struggle with the and maybe it's more plot-driven readers do struggle with that they wanna see where it's going right away, and you can't really see where it's going. You really do have to be there for the journey. I'm probably just gonna encourage you to read it by saying that, Thomas, but
yeah,
at
no,
the
that
same
sounds
time, because I know that's your thing, but,
yeah,
it's how do I explain it? It's not when a lot of times when people read fantasy, we're used to being honed in with like one character or a small group of characters. And we have the heroes fighting the bad guys. We're trying to get to some kind of mission or whatever. I guess that would be the plot element. In Malazan, we're dealing with the whole empire. We're
mhm.
dealing with the whole world. And there's not just one character or one small group of characters we're following. We're literally following hundreds of characters throughout a
Mhm.
10-book epic series.
That sounds
That
right up my alley, let me just say.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, it's because Wheel
reverse
of Time,
psychology.
again, I know we can't really compare the series because Wheel of Time is a continuous linear
Mhm.
story over 14 books, but there are hundreds of different perspectives. And it's the different perspectives that I think has geared me to, be ready for something like Malazan.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not challenging yourself as a reader, like I at least want to give it a shot. If I
Mm.
were to, you know, I don't want to go into it saying, "Hey, I'm only going to give the first 3 books a shot." How is there a pitch that way? Like, "Hey, read till this book, and then if you're not liking it, then
I wanna give my pitch for this, and I want you to
yeah,
share
Please
yours.
do.
So my I everyone is gonna say, "Read the first 3 books." because that is gonna be the biggest taste test but what I say, instead of that, I say read Gardens of the Moon, book 1, and if you really like it, read book 2, Dead House Gates. Okay, read the first 2 books. Read Gardens of the Moon and Dead House Gates. If you weren't so crazy about Gardens of the Moon, book 1, which a lot of people aren't, I personally loved book 1. I'm one of the weirdos who absolutely adored that first book.
Me too.
Yay.
Anything in Darujistan, I'm here for.
Yes,
Yeah.
Darujistan. So the book 1 is everyone will say that's not the best taste test for the book. But if you read book 2, then read book 2. I actually have a feeling you might vibe with book 2 more. I'm not totally sure, but I think you
Maybe.
might, Thomas. But if you end up loving or in one of the 2, continue to book 3. But if you don't like either, like you detested Gardens of the Moon and
Yeah.
then you detested Dead House Gates, or it's really hard for you to get through Dead House Gates, quit the series, read other stuff, and then rethink it later.
Yeah.
Rethink it later. That's my pitch because I've seen too many people like, "I really didn't like Gardens of the Moon. I'm really not liking Dead House Gates, but I'm supposed to read Memories of Ice." Like, no,
Mhm.
don't do
Yeah.
that. I think you should probably have a feeling at that point between the first 2 books if one of them is calling to you, even if the other wasn't really your thing. I
Yeah.
think that's
I
what I
like
would
that.
say.
Okay,
Yeah.
appreciate that.
What do you say, Jake?
I agree wholeheartedly with that because I think that Memories of Ice sort of, in a weird abstract way, it's sort of a combo of books 1 and 2. Um, like, well, I don't want to spoil. I'll just leave it there. But like I agree. If you don't like either of the first 2 books, you're probably not gonna. It might just not be a series for you. Although I will say there is still other different new things to come. Right, like book 4 is quite different. Book 5 is quite different again.
Yeah,
And then
true.
like six through 10 are sort of like their own thing.
It
Like
is, yeah.
it's really interesting structure. But yeah, I agree with that. And funny enough, you guys mentioned how like plot driven readers might bounce off of this, and that's actually part of why I love Malazan so much. When I came to the series, I was very much a plot driven. I just wanted to see cool stuff happen, and it was so jarring. I was like, "What do you mean the plot's kind of it almost doesn't matter in some ways, and it matters, but it was just such a jarring experience that it really made me grow as a reader, and like that has stuck with me so much.
Yeah.
It's such a special series, man, especially if you really love it and you want to read the Esselmont books and you want to read the novellas and the God is Not Willing, the sequel book is phenomenal. I haven't done the prequel stuff yet, although I have a feeling Carcanus might be my favorite stuff from what I've heard. So I don't know. But yeah, it's just it literally has some of everything. Um, it, as Joanna said, if you can get through the trigger warnings and stuff that are at times pretty pretty graphic,
Yeah.
but they are there for a reason. It's not gratuitous. It's not there just for the sake
Yeah,
of it.
that's where
Yeah,
I'm like, if certain things are in there for a reason, and it is in there for a reason, like that's what matters. But
yeah,
if it's there to just shock and awe, that's
right.
a whole nother story there.
Yeah, yeah. Shay's another one. This is like his right up there with his favorites of all time.
Yes.
A lot of people have it that way.
Okay.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
my favorite. It's my favorite of
yeah.
all time. I've
It's
never had a book
it's
hangover like it. I've never,
yeah,
ever experienced anything like it in the sense that when I finished The Cripple God and actually throughout the series, like, my heart just kept getting broken, and then when I finished the last book, like, my heart just it opened up on a level I can't explain. Like, I don't
yeah.
know. It just,
You're
like,
like the
broke some
Grinch by the
kind of
end,
wall
right?
in me.
Yeah, like the Grinch with your heart growing 3 sizes or whatever it is. But yeah, I agree. It's such an amazing. It's right up for me right now. It's that and Sun Eater battle it out for 1 and 2, and then Wars of Light and Shadow is going to be up there with it. Also, I have zero doubt. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
Okay.
so that makes me curious, Jake, because Thomas and I have kind of talked about what we look for in story and how we're
Yeah.
not necessarily plot-driven readers. And
yeah.
what do you look for in story, Jake?
Wow. That it's kind of changed over time. Like I said early on, I wanted to just a cool, fun plot. Um, I grew up just reading, Harry Potter and Aragon and whatever. And then as time has gone on, then I started to shift more towards being more focused on characters. And then it was like but what about these themes though? That's kind of the thing now. And then it was like, well, I just want beautiful prose that I just get lost reading the words on the page. And then now I'm like, I just feel like I'm sort of pulled in all the directions, and I want like I can appreciate something that just has great characters, or something that just has a cool plot, or just has whatever. But the things that stick with me the most are the ones that have all of those things, which I think is not uncommon. I mean, that's what books do, right? The best ones are the ones that excel in all those areas. But yeah, I don't think I have any single thing I focus on the most these days. It feels like it's very just all of it, I guess.
I love that. I would say too about Malazan, I guess one of the most positive things I could say about Malazan is I feel like it opened my mind when it comes to storytelling. Because I
Yeah,
think I did have a more narrow scope or idea of fantasy, and especially because that year, especially when I was getting into Malazan, I had read a lot of Sanderson and,
me too, actually.
really? Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, what I'll say about Sanderson is that I think it did kind of plant, an idea, a very structured idea of this is what fantasy is, because
Mm.
he's very formulaic in the way that he structures his books. He
Mhm.
follows a very specific structure, especially in the Stormlight books. It's like the exact same structure for every single book. I haven't read Wind and Truth, so I don't know if that's totally true for the last book, but
Mm.
for 5, but I know that when I read Malazan, it stretched me. It stretched me to realize, like, oh, storytelling can go in totally different directions than what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Yes, stories don't have to be linear, and they don't have to obviously focus on just one contained area or one set of characters or one theme. And so it expanded the way that I understood story and the way that I realized I could appreciate different kinds of story or open my mind. So like what you were saying, Thomas, like how you said that nowadays when you open a book, you try really hard to think about like what is this story trying to do and maybe be here for this particular style. Malazan has, in addition to a lot of epic cinematic battle scenes, it also has heartfelt, tender character moments. It has humor, it has great banter, like laugh out loud funny moments. I thought were funny anyway. Everybody's taste in humor is different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has like a variety of tone. At the same time, it feels somehow cohesive, which is extraordinary how
Yeah.
he does that. But but yes, it helped me feel more open-minded to different kinds of story that I don't have to just appreciate one thing in fantasy or in story, but I will honestly say I still think of myself mostly theme driven more than
Mm.
anything else. But yes, I agree with you. I think that there's something to be said about like a beautiful prose is actually very important to me as well. Atmosphere, tone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
That.
you can paint a picture, man, I mean, again, I'm gonna hold up this book right here.
Yes. Ah,
The moment you're able to paint a picture for me
yes.
atmospherically with your words, I'm in. And if I'm feeling something from that atmosphere and contrast, contrast is so important with
Mm.
like,
Mhm.
similes are very common, and I think similes Brendan Sanderson does similes a lot, and they're very, you know, but if you're able to just like, I don't know, contrast really makes me feel. Like I think there's a part in the very beginning of little Fitz walking up to this gate and how tall it is, and just how massive this hand is that's holding him. His
Mm.
little hand, and that little contrast, like you're feeling something right there. That's only a tiny little example, but it's all about feeling.
Oh,
And
that's, like, so perfect coming from you because I know you're, like, a professional videographer. So, like, when you're saying that, I'm thinking about, like, the images you've shown of your videography for weddings and how you, like, zoom in on
oh
this
yeah,
one particular shot. Like, I think that that's what Hobb does. She knows
yeah.
how to zoom in on those
Mm.
little details, those little human touches.
That's what I
Beautiful.
do for weddings. People don't
Yes.
do that a lot for weddings, and it's like we need feeling. People are getting
Yeah.
married. This isn't a movie set, and anyway, that's a whole. I'm gonna go rant on that, but
Go for it.
that's my style for filmmaking. Is I kind of reflect that in my work with just feeling, and in tandem with music, choice and shot selection, telling a story through imagery, and if it's just the way the bride is caressing, the groom's hand, with her thumb, in the middle of the ceremony. Like, that's just so important. Those little things, the way a grandma's hug wraps around, someone. It's that kind of stuff. And I live for that in books and films, just feeling. And I think, and like you said, atmosphere and prose, I think that's just kind of, that goes in tandem together.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes. Oh, that's so perfect. I love that. It totally makes me understand why you love Hop. Like, you
Yeah,
you're giving me full insight into what you're picking up on and what you're noticing. She is so full of details like that. She has so many little details, and they'll tell a story in and of themselves. Even like, I know, Bookborn brought this up in her Ship of Magic review. It was something we talked about in our buddy read about how and she said this in the spoiler-free section. There's a part in Ship of Magic where we have this mother character who meets this man who's a bachelor, and she notes that his clothes are ill-fitting, they're on a little too tight, the leggings are a little bit bunched, and it sounds like she's almost, like, judging him, like, "Oh gosh, he can't even dress right," in her mind, but by the end of the scene, you learn that he's, he's a widower because his wife died from this blood plague before the story began, and I think his children died too, if I remember correctly, but that was why he was dressed the way he was, because he was depressed, because he didn't have a wife to tell him otherwise, and suddenly you see those clothing details in a totally new context, and that's without Robin Hobb telling you that, like,
Yeah.
you as a reader just draw that out, like, "Oh, oh,
Yeah.
that's what that means," like, just the little tiny details like that, that have a
yeah,
whole human element to it and story behind it.
Yeah, one also big aspect to just stories in general, whether it's film or books, is history and that historical connection. Not history as in like Roman Empire and stuff. I'm talking like, you see two characters in a scene, you don't know these characters, but you're able to learn about their history together through the words. And you're not being told the history like, oh, these are two best friends. No, you, through conversation or through movements and through a trinket, maybe you're able to learn their history and their past relationship together. And I think certain authors do that just brilliantly, and filmmakers too. That's just so rare nowadays. And understanding their history and their past creates investment into their
yeah,
future and their future journey. And yeah, so
and
fun.
just
Yes.
you picking that out, I'm like, please read Malazan, and because he does it on the character level, but it's also on like the level of like the city and the continent, and like
Mhm.
how the history is never lost, and it's
Mm.
just it always comes back and reverberates through the present, and
I love
like,
that.
dude, yeah, I'm so excited for you to read.
I love the theme of repetition of history. That's a huge thing of
Yeah,
Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
yeah,
Because the trends of history, they just, if we don't learn from it, we repeat it. And
for
I
sure.
love that in fantasy and how there's those aspects and those themes that we're able to pick up on and relate to.
Yeah. Speaking of Wheel of Time, I want to give a shout out to Nikhil really quick because the song that he composed for season 3 is up for like Emmy nominations and
Oh
stuff
my
now.
Oh,
goodness,
wow.
Like
that's
he's
amazing.
yeah. So
Okay,
congrats to
I
him.
have to listen to that. I haven't
He's
watched
so
the show or
talented.
anything,
Yeah.
but
It's the Hills of Tanchico.
okay.
Such a talented artist. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Composer.
that. Music is so um it's amazing. I spend
Yeah.
hours finding the right music for a film.
I can imagine.
So for composers to be able to just, you look at authors writing words and then composers from nothing, it
Hmm.
blows my mind. It takes a special creative soul to do that, and I just appreciate music
Yeah.
so much. Not to divert from books, but I'm always curious, booktubers, what is like your favorite film? And like, what kind of films do you tend to
Oh wow.
watch as a book reader? Do you think you look for that type of story? Like the similar stories that you do enjoy in books to movies, or are you kind of different?
I don't watch that many movies, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm trying to think back. I'm like, what's my favorite movie? I'm trying to even think of what a good example is. It's been so long since I've just sat down and I don't, especially one that's not based on a book. That's surprisingly difficult for me. Though honestly, the first one that comes to mind is like American Psycho. That is, I always like stuff like me and my girlfriend are watching Dexter right now. I'm watching it for like
Oh,
the fourth time or
Dexter.
something. I love
Yes.
Dexter, but this is her first time seeing it, and it's so fun to see her reactions to seeing things for the first time. We finished season 2 last night, for if you know, you know, and so that's been fun. So like stuff like that where I guess it's similar things, right? Like there's a lot of character depth there. You can see the themes, especially things where I can see this is going to sound bad. I see a lot of myself in Dexter. But just things where I can really identify with it. And there's just also cool stuff just happens, right? Like, so it kind of has everything, but I don't know. It's hard. This is a hard one for me. I don't really watch
Okay.
that much stuff. I watch a lot of anime, so it's
Okay.
also kind of similar answers, right? Just the things that have all those different layers to it. But anyway, Joanna, maybe you have a more interesting answer than me.
I wish I did, but I'm the same way. I am so out of touch when it comes to film. I have a deep respect for it and appreciation for it. Like John from Talking Story, when he talks about movies and film and acting, like, oh, that's
Yeah,
absolutely incredible to learn more about the art of that. Like I wish I could say I'm more knowledgeable. But all of my favorite movies are things that I watched as a kid. So like just the nostalgia factor,
sure.
kind of is what gets to me about film. So, like, for example, I'm trying to think. Like, one of my favorite movies growing up is probably one that not many people here have watched. It's kind of a music album. My favorite band growing up was Pink Floyd, and
Mm.
so, like, they had this movie that went along with an album called The Wall. I don't know if anybody's heard of it,
Yeah, I've
but
heard of it. I'm not super
Okay, I've
familiar,
never
but I've
heard of
heard of
that.
it.
yeah, it's very dark, but it really resonated with me growing up. Like I remember watching it the first time. It's very surreal and it's about how do I explain this? I'm going to think about how to explain this. So this is a story that is told from the perspective of a washed out, drugged out rock star. And he's pretty much wasting away. He's nearly overdosing, I guess, in his hotel room, but he's going on this psychological head trip about the traumas that he went through in life that created what he perceives to be a wall between himself and the world. So it's about depression is what it's about, and how every brick in the wall is some kind of trauma that happened to him in his life. So like
Mm.
he goes through his memories and he remembers how his father died in World War II, and that's another brick in the wall. How his teacher shamed him in class. That he was an English schoolboy, and they were really his teacher was abused by his wife, and he took his abuse out on the students. So he got abused by his teacher, which was another brick in the wall. And then he and his wife fall apart. She ends up cheating on him. That's another brick in the wall. So all these events happen in his life that build this wall, and he becomes this rock star. He goes out on stage to sing, and the power of the story is that this all these fans, like huge fans, so it's like a huge commentary on fandoms too. They come
Mhm.
out and they worship this rock star. Whoa, Pink Floyd, that's the name of the rock star. Like, we love you. And they don't realize what they worship. And then he
Yeah.
starts making this analogy between himself and Hitler, and how people worshiped Hitler, but they didn't really know what they worshiped.
Mm.
Like, so it has all these layers, it has all this symbolism. It's hard to talk about it in a simple way because it's not necessarily
Yeah,
simple,
deep. Yeah.
but I loved the symbolism of the wall being like a symbol of depression and trauma, and what we have to do to break down those walls and the
Yeah.
vulnerability that we have to go through, and about fandoms and how what it said about fandoms. So
Yeah.
it's a very also has animation in it, so it's a very
Wow.
creative visual experience, musical experience with the music and the animation, but it's something that's always stuck with me. It's and I so, yeah, that's my favorite probably, but I grew up with other things like, I loved fantasy movies growing up. I loved Disney Sword in the Stone and
Yeah, me too.
Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal and The Princess Bride and Legend, and I liked the Harry Potter movies when those came out and, uh, Lord of the Rings movies, of course.
Yep.
So, I'm
The
kinda
Dune I
basic.
love the Dune ones, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Dune
The
movies
yeah,
are
recent
great.
ones were really good.
yeah,
Mm.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's crazy how like fantasy films, there's not many of them, and they're not done too right. They're not done well. I feel like, yeah, fantasy books are not getting a lot of TV adaptations, but when they are, they're overlooked. The marketing isn't there. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
For the most part, I mean, Game of Thrones was huge, obviously, right? And
That's what I'm
then
saying. Is in
when
like
it
outside of Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, like the mainstream
yeah.
and Harry Potter. Yeah, it's fantasy, but like it's so much. It's very nuanced. Maybe that's a hot topic, but I don't know. There's like what is out
It's
there?
tough.
You know, you've got Dune for sci-fi, and then you've got Lord of the Rings for fantasy. It's like,
Yeah.
where are the other heavy hitters? It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
interesting.
it seems I haven't watched, I only watched the first season, but I'm hearing that the Wheel of Time is getting a lot more positive reaction these days.
Mhm.
Oh,
So it seems like actually season 3 is people are really loving it, especially book
Okay.
fans. So I don't know, maybe that can, correct its trajectory here.
Yeah.
Um, we'll see.
Yeah.
That'd be I would love for that to just crush, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
we need I mean, just I love Wheel of Time, but also we need shows to do well so we can get more
Yeah.
and, see what happens. Was I David, was I talking to you about this or was I talking to somebody else? When I watched Aragon as a kid, I thought it was awesome, and I haven't watched it as an adult yet. So I'm curious if I was to rewatch it, if I would be like, "Oh, this is actually horrible." But I
huh.
loved it growing up.
Yeah. By the way, Dark Side of the Moon is my favorite Pink Floyd album, just for the record as well, and, I think they did make a Dark Tower adaptation,
Yeah, it was
at
with,
least a
Matthew McConaughey
Oh,
and
couple.
Idris Elba.
they're
Yeah, I've heard
redoing it,
it
aren't
wasn't
they?
good,
Are
so
they? Okay.
I think they're making a new one.
Alright.
yeah, I heard that too. I don't know if it's actually happening or not, because that was actually a couple years ago that I heard that.
Yeah. Um, I think Bookborn had a somewhat recent video, I think, where she was talking about all the stuff that's sort of currently in the works adaptation wise.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was a lot of stuff that I had no idea, but it's also, I mean, who knows where things, things just fall apart so quickly with those
Yeah.
things. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, who knows? But hopefully we get more. I'd love more good stuff.
Yeah. Oh, you know what my recent thing is? And by the way, I love this album too, A Momentary Lapse of Reason and Learning to Fly. You all
Mhm.
know Pink Floyd. I love this chat right now. Um,
I haven't even
yeah,
listened to him.
oh gosh, they were
I know.
just they were everything for me
I'm a
growing up.
horrible person.
But yeah, actually the movies I'm most into of all things, and it's funny because it doesn't necessarily coincide as much with my reading journey. I love Studio Ghibli films.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love
Yes.
Stud
Thank
yes,
you. Yes.
Howl's Moving Castle,
I need to watch
Kiki's
those.
Gorgeous.
Delivery Service.
They're
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're so
I
well
hear
done.
it's because I'm a cinematic is a buzzword, but I'm for the true art of cinema and
Mhm.
risk taking and just storytelling. And I'm not an anime fan, but um, I hear just Studio Ghibli is
Yeah.
otherworldly. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh
It
my
the
gosh.
it I think anime gets a weird rap. There are certain tropes of anime that people get scared off by, understandably, and none of those are in like the Ghibli movies, for example. Like,
yeah,
it's just a movie that happens to be animated in Japan, basically.
yeah.
Um, but even some of the non-Ghibli stuff, like A Silent Voice, I don't know if anyone's ever seen that. I cried like a baby. So good.
I've mostly seen the Miyazaki, is that
Yeah, yeah.
the director? I've mostly seen those ones,
Mhm.
but I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, there's some great ones. I haven't seen all the Ghibli movies by any means, but uh, slowly chipping away at all. There's so many just amazing things that happen to be anime that people get uh, or feel sort of put off by the genre as a whole, but which I understand.
You
I
know
love
what
it, but I get it.
what I would recommend, although it's an anime, and I did recently watch this and loved it, is, Free Rin. Have you heard of
Yes.
Free Rin? Oh
I
my
haven't
gosh.
watched it yet, but I know it's amazing.
I
Oh,
will recommend that to both of you.
can you
Thomas,
so
I
how do I spell it?
especially
It's just
it's spelled F-R-I-E, R-E-N.
Sounds
Free
right.
Rin, and what's the subtitle?
oh,
Maybe somebody can help me
Journey's
out.
End or something like that.
Beyond
what's
Journey's
is it a
End.
TV show or a movie?
It's a anime, and I think there's it's a manga and anime, but the
Yeah.
anime there only has, like, a few seasons out right
Mhm.
now,
Yeah, there's not a ton.
but I watched all of them with my husband over the last couple of months, and I loved it. It is more slower paced. It is
Yeah, I like that. That's the only issue I've had with anime is as in my view of it, which is still an outside view, a lot of it is too fast paced. Episodes are bite sized, and characters don't act as like they're just very on both sides. They're just like there's no middle ground. It's either
Mm.
very emotional up, very emotional down, and it comes off exhausting. And my only issue with or my I guess example is Critical Role. I don't know if you've heard of that Dungeons and Dragons actual play show. They did an animation of their D&D show, and
Yeah.
that's my experience with a lot of anime. And it was just like, whoa, this is like too it's like it gets exhausting. So Studio Ghibli, though, from what I've seen and what I've heard, is it's like slow paced and it's like
mhm, yes, yes,
gradual
Yeah.
progression, and that's what I look for in films.
If
When
if
it's too
you
fast
ever
paced, there's not
yes.
a lot of investment for me.
Yeah, if you ever get like, I could give you some recommendations that are not crazy and wacky like that,
And Cowboy
if
Bebop as
you
well.
ever want them. Hey, Bebop's great.
Nice.
Bebop is great. You might actually really like, there's a show called Fruits Basket. It's one of my favorites. It's quite slow paced, very character driven, very emotional. A lot of it is dealing with sort of unwinding and working through trauma,
Mhm.
and sort of the a found family, and like there's a lot in that show. There's a little bit of magic, but not a ton. And I love that show, man. It's so good.
Okay.
But there's definitely there's stuff out there that it sounds like you would like, but I
Yeah.
understand totally the the bouncing off of lots of it.
So
Yeah.
Free Rin was really special for me. It's because Philip Chase jokes that I'm an assassin elf. Well, it does follow an elf who is amazing. So the beauty of this story is that the story is following an elf named Free Rin. And Free Rin, elves in this world, they can live, I think, for like over 100 years. They have a very long lifespan. So throughout her life, a day in her life is like I don't know, or like a year in her life is like a day in our life. So she doesn't see time the same way. She doesn't really
Mhm.
value like she doesn't mind spending weeks at a time picking flowers. And whereas the humans are like, we're wasting time. What are we doing? And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just, like that's just this is nothing, we're just spending like it's like a week in her life, basically.
Mhm.
So she processes time differently, but because she lives such a has lived such a long lifespan, there is this group of characters. You start the story after she and this heroic group of characters defeat the Demon King. They had gone on this adventure, they defeated the greatest foe of the world, and they're all coming off this heroic journey together. And then as the story goes on, they pass on because, they get older because she goes on being the same age. And as she loses them or looks back on those memories, she starts to realize what people meant to her. And she starts to process her memories and her grief and her not necessarily grief, but she starts to process what people mean to her, the meaning of friendship,
I
and
love
how
that.
Yeah.
those things that you lose that you can't get back. For me, it was actually watching that anime helped me process a lot of my grief over my dog
Mhm.
in an odd way. It's hard to explain, but she the story kinda goes back and forth between her processing her memories of her friendship so many years earlier, and then also being in the present with her new friends,
Yeah.
and her trying to be present with her new friends, and
Yeah.
trying to make connections in the moment. And then also along the way, there are, like, battle scenes and stuff, but
Yeah.
It's
I love
so
that.
beautifully done.
That's
It's so beautifully done, in my opinion.
that's something that's like, I guess you would say a trope that hasn't been touched upon. I mean, yeah, it has in films and whatnot, but like elves traditionally live longer lives than humans in a
Yes,
fantasy
that's
world.
true.
And
Mhm.
uh, what uh, what a wild concept, because they see empires rise and fall, and
Mhm.
they're only, the equivalent of a 50-year-old human in their 300 lifespan. Or you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
what a what a cool thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Once again, read Malazan, brother.
I
Yeah.
know. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I was gonna go into this thinking, I'm not gonna try to convince Thomas to read
Oh,
Malazan,
I'm on
but
a mission now.
alright.
Yeah, join me. Just keep commenting on my videos, and
Peer
I'll get
pressure.
to it eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you read again, I think you might I would be curious if you read Jenny Wirtz again, I would recommend, To Write Hell's Chasm as a starting point for that, just to see if you can vibe with her writing style, which it does use a lot of archaicisms, it is quite dense, it's thicker style for sure than anything else out there, but or that
Mhm.
I've come across in recent times, but, uh, but she is a very visual writer. That is something
Yeah.
that like, if you're somebody who visualizes what you read, which not everybody does, I did a video about this a few years ago, and I was
Mhm.
shocked that, like, half the people who commented on that video said they don't visualize what they read.
I remember that. Yeah. It
I
blew my
was like,
mind too.
"What?" Yeah, and so, but clearly, if you're somebody who visualizes what you read,
What
Thomas,
what
so
book are you recommending? I'm trying to look at it right now.
To Ride Hell's Chasm.
It's a book or a name of a
Yeah.
trilogy?
It's a book, it's a
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a
standalone.
standalone.
Okay, good. Alright.
Mhm.
To Ride. Alright. Sorry for being rude. I just wanna make sure I get these
Oh,
down,
yeah.
'cause in BookTube and books, everyone throws their recommendations around. It's like,
Uh,
"Whoa, hold up. Let me
yeah.
let me get my notepad out and write these all
Uh-huh.
down."
I think though, I mean, Farseer, when you before you actually picked up, what is it called now? Assassin's Apprentice. I couldn't think of the name. Before you picked it up, I remember thinking, "Oh man, Thomas, Robin Hobb, that is your author. That is your
Yeah,
author." Like I was so
okay.
certain of it. So I'm not surprised at all that you're loving that
Yeah.
journey, and I would say just continue enjoying that journey for
Oh, I
now.
will. I
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'll let you know
Beautiful.
when I read the Live Ship trailer. Live Ship Trade? Wait, what is it?
Live Ship Traders,
Live
yes.
Ship Traders. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I love
I'm
it.
gonna catch up here a little bit in the comments, from Russia with books, I
Oh,
agree with
love that chick.
Thomas on anime. I get exhausted watching I do agree with Jake, though, that there are different styles of anime,
Yeah.
there are different kinds, because 'cause I've seen
Yeah.
that too, like, for example, my husband just started watching Steins Gate, which is like a
Nice.
weird have you watched it?
No, but I know that it's very highly regarded.
Ah, yes, that's why he picked it up. I did not like the first episode, and so I bounced off. I found it very
Okay.
disjointed and kinda wacky and
Mm,
but, maybe it gets he loves it right now, so I don't know, it
sure.
might get better. But yeah, there are different kinds of anime. I personally love Death Note. That might be
Oh,
my
that's,
favorite.
yeah, my little sister's, favorite,
Death Note's a
Yeah,
good one.
and as in
which is
little, she's 17,
which
but
is funny too because you were saying what kind of films do we like and trying to make the comparison between our love of film and our love of books. For me, I feel like there's a lot of difference there because Death Note, for example, very hard magic system. I'm
Mhm.
not a big hard magic system kinda gal, and,
Mm,
and I loved it. I love the psychological journey of that anime.
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic.
yeah.
But Studio Ghibli, I don't read a lot of cozy fantasy, and when I do, I
yeah,
don't know that it's necessarily my favorite kind of fantasy, but Studio Ghibli is, like, the best cozy experience of film ever. But yeah, it's
yeah.
gold standard for me is what, From Russia with Books says, and I totally agree with that. Mhm.
Yeah. I think y'all are haters, man. Anime is awesome. No, I'm just kidding.
Uh, no, let's see, what's some other anime I liked? Um, I'm trying to think.
I'm here for this. Let's see.
Frieren, Death Note. When I was a teenager, my friends and I used to watch one called Ranma and One Half, One
Yeah,
and a Half.
sure.
Yeah, I had fun with that.
Uh-huh.
Um, gosh, I can't think of any right at the top of my head, but I know I watched some other anime. I started Attack on Titan. I really enjoyed that, but I didn't
Nice.
get to
Yeah.
finish it.
Yeah, a lot darker than it sounds like the other ones you've seen, but Death Note gets pretty dark.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does. I like the
Titan's awesome.
moral questions it brings up too, which is fun.
Persona 5 is a video game I've been playing lately, and it is anime
Yes.
as can be, and it's perfect because it focuses on the slice of life, the
There you go.
small things, you know.
Yeah.
You're a high school student and you meet friends, and it's kind of like a visual novel, and it is phenomenal.
Yeah, they made an actual anime out of it too. After the
Oh,
games did pretty well,
okay.
which was cool.
Wow.
There's even stuff like one of my favorites is one called Haikyuu. That's just about this volleyball team, and
Oh,
like it's like
yes.
an all boys volleyball team, and it's like just the journey you go on with each of those characters is incredible. And there's I don't know how many episodes there is in total, like 80 or something like that. But every episode, I was getting emotional for some reason. I was either sad or just like cheering for them and just so hyped up that I'm like about to cry. Like there's such a great slam dunk. Another like some of these sports shows are just awesome. But and then I also like you give me something. I grew up on Dragon Ball and Naruto and all those things too, right? So those are always cool. But
Yes, I've watched I think I wanna say I watched Naruto and enjoyed that.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
Yeah.
fun.
hard for me when I see an anime, it's like, "Okay, yeah, you recommended it, great," and I go and look at it, and it's like 15 seasons, and I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
you got to
Yeah.
start or like Your Lie in April is another great one. If you want to have a good hard cry, watch that.
Yes.
If you want
I
a good
really
hard
wanna watch
cry,
that.
watch Lion. That's a
Lion.
Lion. It's a film. It's a real film. It's not an anime,
Oh,
and
Okay.
it's the most I've ever. It's like an embarrassingly choking hard cry. It's about
Oh, dude. Yeah.
an adopted child um, trying to find his biological mother
Mm,
through the technology of Google Maps. Wow,
interesting. Yeah.
it's
huh.
beautiful, and it's
I
based
love
on a true story. So
Okay. Hey, I love a
Ah,
good cry, man.
yeah,
yeah, me too. I love
I
to
cry.
love a good cry as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love crying.
When was the last time you cried over a book? Either of you?
Uh,
He's like yesterday. No, for me it was Disquiet Gods, the Six Sun Eater book. The end of that was the hardest I've ever cried at a book ever. I was like, I had to put it to the side. I'm like bawling by the end.
okay.
It was
Oh,
yeah, that was tough.
wow.
Yeah, that was
So
probably a month or
Sun
two
Eater,
ago.
is that a that's not a completed series yet, or is it going to be this year?
Almost books, but the final one, book 7, comes out in November.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
Wow.
almost there.
That must be exciting for you. It's
Oh,
your favorite series.
I can't even describe to you how excited I am. It's
That's awesome. You know,
yeah,
it's
it's
so
cool.
rare. I've never been around in the space of books where I get to experience the release of a brand new book within a series. Like, because
Mm,
I didn't read Sanderson, so I hadn't
Mhm.
looked forward to, his other books
yeah,
coming out. So now actually starting a series and seeing the release of the final book, it's
yeah,
like, that's pretty
yeah.
neat.
That's funny you bring that up. I haven't had that. I had that with Wind and Truth, and I guess I'm having it with this one. But I think that's really the first that I've had that in hindsight now. I mean, I guess the last Harry Potter book, but it was like um I wasn't I don't know. Why does that feel different? It shouldn't feel different. Maybe it was because I was still in high school and I needed my mom to go buy the book for me or something. Um, was I in high school? Whenever that came out, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Time is weird.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, I remember that. I remember when that came out. Yeah. So, yeah, I did experience that with Harry Potter. I experienced it with a couple of other series, not like had the Poppy War and
Mm,
Mm,
the second book in Evan Winter, um, The Rage of Dragons, The Fires of
yeah,
Vengeance when that came
yeah,
out. Um, and then Rhythm of War when that came out. But sadly, I've not had the most positive experiences with that. I did like the last Harry Potter book, I guess, when that came out, but
yeah.
just I have not had the
Endings are
most
tough.
positive experiences with
Endings
new
are
releases.
tough.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
Uh,
like, I'm okay if a series isn't finished because endings are so hard. And like my friend Abe said this, it's a very, very interesting point, but he's like, if you don't finish the series, you're still in that world. you haven't left it, which is kind of cool, but
True.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I think everyone should still read, King Killer Chronicle, even if it never gets finished.
Yeah, I agree.
And if you're fixated and so angry at an author that they're not finishing a series, I yes, that's sad that they're not doing that, but you need to not. That'll ruin your experience, in enjoying what's actually written. And I think we should be thankful for what they have written us.
Yeah,
I
So
agree.
it's interesting, you know.
it is. Yeah, and same with like George Martin, right? Like those
Yes,
books are still unbelievable,
They
whether or
still are in
not he writes the
top
ending or
3
not.
of a lot of people's lists, which is
Yeah,
yep,
it's a testament.
it
it
definitely
is.
was for me. I love that series so much.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's
I hear
awesome.
they're
That
so different from the show.
Oh,
Like
it's so different.
like,
So
I've
different.
heard one aspect that I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm Catelyn Stark, basically. I'm just like, "What? That's
Yeah.
yeah, right.
actually what?"
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
The first season, I think, is a pretty good adaptation, and then after
yeah,
that, it just feels like it keeps departing from the show.
sure.
George R. R. Martin wrote at least 1 episode per season. I don't think that held up all the way till the end, but the
Mm,
episodes that he wrote were my favorite. They were incredible. Um,
yeah.
yeah, no, it really bothers me how much people conflate the show and the books. It bothers me
Mhm,
especially when people are speaking of it in a critical way, and they're
mhm.
like, "It's like Game of Thrones," and then they
Oh.
say and I realize they haven't even read or they'll
Mhm,
say A Song of Ice and Fire, but
mhm.
they haven't even read the books, they're just talking about the
Yeah.
show, and I'm like,
Sure.
"That's different,
Because
though."
it's mainstream, like what that's kinda what I was talking about with where are the fantasy shows and movies? Like, eh, Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings are mainstream. They're so pop culture that people can't help but play the compare game or
Mm,
Sure.
provide an example of like, "Oh, it's like Game of Thrones and Hunger Games in one." It's like, that's going to speak to a broader audience and entice them to pick it up.
Mhm.
Um, I don't like that because I think things should be, their own thing, as in like Game of Thrones is Game of Thrones,
mhm.
like Hunger Games is Hunger Games, that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
it
Yeah,
is. That
yeah.
marketing stuff is I get it from a marketing perspective, it makes
Absolutely.
sense, but it's a tricky, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, I've noticed, we'll go to Barnes& and Noble and we'll just look at all the new releases, and it's like, it's a sword, it's a antler, deer antler
Yeah.
on the cover, it's maybe a dragon wing, it's always the same stuff.
Uh-huh.
But then there'll be little blurbs on it like action, love, romance. And it's very interesting that those are like kind of have to be on there because you have to grab people's attention and
Mhm.
for them to be able to pick up the book and buy that book. And so
Sure.
you need that blurb. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't know that that's a thing now. Having to
Yeah.
have that in there.
Or even who gives the blurb matters, right?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes
Yes.
the blurb is utterly meaningless. Like, I read one this is not a shot, but I think I can't remember what author it was. I think it was Sanderson maybe, that one of the blurbs I think was from Rothfuss that just said, "Simply an amazing writer."
Yeah.
That means nothing,
And
but because it's
it could have been written in, early 2000s or whenever, and then they just
yeah,
put it on the book.
for sure, and it's like just because someone's a fan of Rothfuss, so they're like, "Oh, he gave his stamp of approval, let me read this,"
And
which
doesn't
I
mean that
understand,
author
but
read the entire series.
that's true. That's true. Yeah, and that's like again, I'm not taking a shot at either author. I'm just
Yeah.
it's interesting um, to me some of the marketing, but I also empathize because they got to make money, otherwise they can't print the books. And then what are we going to do if we can't read the books? And
It's a very you have to be aggressive. You have
yeah,
to have the strategy and because it is how like in the very beginning of this show, it's a fast world.
yeah,
Things are grabbing our attention. You have to be on top of it and
hmm
talk about algorithms. Um,
TikTok, dude, everything. It's
movies
all really
movies
quick.
need a 5-second trailer before the actual trailer, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Mm.
Like, that's wild, and then the whole trailer explains the whole film, and you've just taken all the ambiguity
Yeah.
out and
yeah,
enjoyment, but people don't majority of people, I think we're trained now to not really sit back and relax and really be intentional with that.
Yeah,
Our attention spans are changing
for
I
because
sure.
don't
of
know if
how
that's true, but yeah, I know people feel that way. Um, but media is definitely changing, and,
I think it's training. It could potentially be not training, encouraging just a more fast paced, like
yeah,
I'm talking about just like Instagram
yeah.
and the scrolling and just like you need
Mhm.
that quick 2-3 seconds of attention and then you're in there. But
Do you have an Instagram, Thomas? I'm just curious.
I do, but it's for Roman Howell Films and my business, but it's not books or anything. So
Yeah,
that's yeah, I don't have a book Instagram.
yeah,
Yeah.
Um, because I want to keep that Instagram strictly for wedding films and potential brides and couples coming in to talk and
Yeah.
book that way. But
It's a good way to be. And it's having multiple accounts is also kind of a
and
nightmare.
YouTube is my Instagram for my YouTube channel.
yeah,
So
There you go.
yeah.
yeah.
What about
No, I
you
was
guys?
just curious. I do, but I'm terrible about maintaining it.
Yeah.
I have an app limit, so I have, like, an 8-minute limit on it per
Love
day,
that.
and then it kicks me out.
Oh,
I
cool.
can override it, but I try not to because I do, I'll just spend too much time. I
Yeah.
get sucked in.
It's easy to do. I have it. So I have one for book stuff that I don't do much. Like there was a period of time where I would post something every day, but it was like the most minuscule time commitment. Like quick picture of a book. Hey, this is great. You know what I mean? Really quick and easy. Just because it was kind of fun. And now it's like I might post once or twice a week or something, but it's the smallest time commitment you can imagine. And but it's like I have that. I have social media for like my real job also, which is just like I hate juggling back and forth, and it's just it's annoying. Um, so the book Instagram certainly suffers for that, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
But it's fun to just kind of scroll through and look at books sometimes. I don't know, like
yeah,
but like you're saying, I like that you have a limit because it's easy to get sucked in, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, there went 45 minutes of my day, and
exactly.
you know, so,
It's so easy to do. I could just fall down a rabbit hole just watching either
uh-huh.
even music stuff on
Yeah,
Instagram,
yeah.
just different
Like
preferences.
I see so much just like dog videos and stuff like that. I do the same thing. Yeah.
My brother-in-law constantly sends me dog reels in
Yeah.
messages on Instagram, like, almost every day, and I don't watch reels that often otherwise, but
Sure.
by the way, it's so fun story. I'm the one who's responsible for Philip Chase getting on Instagram because I
Oh,
ended up
good.
sending him, like I messaged him a photo that somebody posted when the Broken Binding editions for his series first came out. I, like, sent him a message. I'm like, "Look, somebody's checking out your book and posting on Instagram." So, like, a day or 2 later, he started his Instagram, and now, like, every time I get on Instagram, his stories is just, like, one photo
Yeah.
after another after another of people showing off their editions or reviewing his books. So, man, if you're an author and you have a fancy edition, that you have to do Instagram, I think. I think
Yeah.
that's
100%.
just you have to do
I
it.
mean, I follow Sanderson and he's great. My wife, I didn't realize she's watching the live stream and she's just texting me. Well, first off, she was talking about, are you not going to mention that I read The Last Unicorn first before you?
Uh-oh.
That was and then she's like 500 centimeters per second because that's one of her favorite animes. Smile more. Oh, says smile more. Oh, so serious. Okay, my bad. I'm trying to listen. Okay, and then she said Avatar: The Last Airbender. Doy,
Oh,
I'm so
There
sorry
love
you
about
Avatar:
go.
The
that.
Last Airbender.
That's one of
It's
my favorite shows
wonderful.
of all time.
Yeah, that's
Avatar's great.
one of my husband's favorite shows of all time.
She says,
Yeah.
"Say you love it now. You haven't mentioned me once. Do you love me?"
Oh,
Amazing.
Oh, she's the best. Yeah, first month of marriage. That's what we did. We watched not the last universe. Yeah, the last Airbender.
That's
Amazing.
awesome.
Talk about a show that's paced beautifully. And
yes.
I know
Yeah.
I kind of complained about like certain animes being 20 minutes long, episodes. But it doesn't waste time. It doesn't waste your time. It's got highs, it's got lows. It's perfect.
I'm
It's
telling you,
Yes.
man,
consistent.
there's a bunch out there.
Yeah.
There's a bunch out there.
Yeah.
There are different paces, different styles. Yes,
Yeah.
I totally agree with this, and huge shout out to your wife. I love the episodes where you have her featured. I saw that
Thank
she
you.
was, what, playing Baldur's Gate 3?
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
I love that you guys play video games together because that's the thing my
Yeah.
husband and I do now and then.
Oh,
So,
love
it's just,
that.
like, the best way to bond,
It
I
really
think.
is.
That's so cool. I'm jealous of you guys, man. I want to have time for video games again. That's on my list.
Yeah.
I know,
Oh.
well, it's probably gonna be a little while, but you should celebrate when you're done. Do you
Yeah,
have,
for
like,
sure.
is your so you said you're done with your dissertation study, or
Yeah,
you're done with the data collection, or
yeah, I'm done with that. I'm done with that part. So now it's all just right now. I literally have a bunch of binders over there by my desk that I have to double check all the data entry and then do all the statistics and then make sense out of all of it and write the papers and make my So there's still quite a bit of work left. Technically, I should graduate almost exactly a year from now.
oh my gosh.
And then I'm kind of working on potentially doing a postdoc, which would basically I get to stay and do more cool research, but equally as important, I get to stay and continue to get a stipend from the university and make some money and delay the real world.
Well,
But
that's wonderful. At the same
yeah,
university where you are now in
yeah,
Florida?
yeah. I genuinely love it here. It's very busy and time consuming, but like it's the people that I'm around are just the best, and the research that we get to do is it's a very niche thing, but it's for those that care about it. Like for me, I grew up in Illinois. I'd never been on a plane before. I came here for this lab. I would have gone anywhere for this lab, and I was going to go to New Zealand for my PhD, but then this place where I did my master's started a program that was that I was able to do the kind of research that I could have done even better than what I could have done in New Zealand. So I was like, yeah, I'll stay here. But like I would go anywhere for this, right? I love it dearly, and I don't want it to end, but I also like would love to have a little bit more time that's free for things, right? But it is what it is. So I'm when I say it's very niche, like it's very niche, right? So technically, it's exercise science, um, in sort of broad terms, but I essentially study bodybuilding. So like my research is very focused on optimizing certain programming variables to build as much muscle as you possibly can, and that's not very many people care about that, and that's fine. But I think it's fun,
I
so
care about it. I wanna
it's
learn. It's
Love
cool.
that.
it's
Are you a
great.
big fan of Andrew Huberman?
Um, Huberman's an interesting guy.
He's trendy.
He is very trendy. He's
I think I know who you guys are talking about.
yeah, I think he's a big net positive,
Mhm.
making science cool for people. I think he does occasionally fall into the very easy trap of when you're an expert in one thing, you tend to believe you're an expert in all things. Um, so like which so easy to do. Everybody who's done a PhD has done that where they think they know all fields, right? But
Yeah.
so I'm not trying to take a shot. I'm just saying, I think he should
My
be a bit
bad.
more conservative in some ways. But I think everybody can be a bit more conservative in some ways. With the more I've learned about science, the more I'm just like, it's hard to speak with a lot of confidence about many things. So interesting.
Absolutely
That's really
agree.
cool.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
fun.
used to be a big meathead.
What?
Cool.
Really?
I used to be massive. Like I definitely lost weight. I'm not eating 6 meals a day. I'm not lifting twice a day. Pumping Iron was one of my favorite movies all
Nice.
time. It just
Cool.
pumped me up, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go work out at 11 o'clock at night. But
Yeah.
I love what you're doing. That's really cool. That sounds interesting to me. But
Thanks, dude.
yeah,
Yeah.
being a 30-year-old man, the older I get, you lose muscle mass and you can't keep it if you're not keeping up on it. And I would love to pick your brain and be like, how the heck do you gain it back at such an older age? But
My man. Okay. Number one, 30 is not old. You can't tell
I
me
know.
this.
I know,
Oh,
but when I was 21, like, I'm just on top of the world with,
Sure. I understand what you mean. I'll be 32 in a few months, so I feel your pain.
yeah,
But it all falls apart the day you wake up at 30 years old. Slow deterioration, right?
yep,
No, I'm always happy to talk about it. It's fun. But it's it's probably not as complicated as you might think, to be
yeah,
honest. It's another thing that the more I've studied, like, as into the weeds as you can possibly get, the more I'm like, it's not that complicated. It's fun to talk about the complicated stuff, but it might make a 1% difference. Like,
yeah,
who
yeah,
cares at the end of the day?
yeah. I
But
think for me, I mean, it's just moving is important.
oh, 100%.
Just daily movement, like the
definitely.
practical aspect. At this point in my life, it's the practical
Sure.
aspect of
Yeah.
working out and
Yeah.
making sure to get outside, get sunlight, and move.
Yeah.
And
And
uh,
there's so many benefits, man. Like, so many, like, mental benefits, so much, like, longevity, and
yeah,
the more we take care of ourselves now, the more independent and high functioning we'll be when we're elderly, and
yep,
we will thank ourselves from 50 years ago someday,
yep,
right, for doing
Yeah.
some
yeah,
things. So
That's what's
yeah.
most important to me too. Like I've been a long time runner, cardio kind of person. I've always
mhm,
preferred cardio over strength training,
Sure.
but I started challenging myself last year because I started to notice that like I didn't like the things like how it was harder for me to throw my luggage over the overhead at a
Mhm.
plane or something. And so I started doing just a little bit. I hardly do anything, just like a couple of times a week,
Yeah.
but I built up to where I could do my first pull up.
That's
And
awesome.
that was insane to me. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, so I'm getting, like, a little bit of muscle
Let's
here.
go.
And
I love it.
whoa,
yeah,
whoa, wait a
and
minute.
I love
Okay,
it.
that's not a
is
little
that
bit of
crazy?
muscle.
But I don't even
That's
do, like, that
awesome.
much, though. Like, I do like, I do, like, I could do 1 pull-up right now
Mhm.
per set, and then 1
Yeah.
chin-up. I started off with the chin-up, and I have to have, like, my arms aren't totally straight, they're, like, at a little bit of a
Sure.
bend. Like, I can't do it totally straight yet,
Yeah.
but it's still a huge accomplishment for
Let me
me.
just say, hanging is like
Mm.
just dead hang is so
Yeah,
good. I
that's
love it.
true.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Grip strength and I think yeah, I think grip strength is like some of the most important things because
that's what I hear.
the older you
Yeah,
get, we're always grabbing stuff. And as book readers, I want to be able to hold my book up when I
Yeah,
read
right?
it and not drop it on my face.
yeah, yeah,
100%, 100%.
yeah.
The pull Funny enough, in my master's program, there was a class I had to write a paper for, and it was a biomechanics class, and it was basically choose, either an exercise or a movement pattern or something, and just look at the research on that and write a paper about it. And I randomly chose pull-ups because my teacher, who is actually the guy who runs the lab that I work in, and he came up with, like, powerlifting and stuff like that. So, like, he he was expecting me probably to do, like, a squat or a bench press or a deadlift, one of the powerlifting things. So I was like, oh, let me do something different. So I chose pull-ups randomly, and believe it or not, like, there's a whole line of research on how can we get women to be able to do their first pull-up, because it's just so difficult. So, like, you should be very proud of yourself that you've accomplished this. You're
Oh,
sort of, like, genetically predisposed to having a hard time with it, right? Because, like, men just naturally
very
have
much
more
so.
upper body muscle mass.
Yeah,
So, like, that's I'm not joking at all when I say, like, that's a really
no,
cool and big
yeah.
thing.
It
And
No,
is.
because I went through a whole year of trying a few years ago, and I could never do it. I just
yeah.
couldn't do it, and then what I did was I have a stepladder. I'm sorry if this
Mhm.
is not interesting to people who, like, wanted to talk about books,
This
but
is
I just,
real
like,
life.
happen to have
I
a
love
nerdy
it.
top interest in this. So I have a stepladder and I have a pull-up bar, and what I did
Mhm.
was I would get on the 2nd step, which would put my arms at, like, a 90-degree angle, and I couldn't even do that at first, so
Mhm.
sometimes I would just, like, try to go up as high as I could and do just as little bit as I could,
Uh-huh.
and eventually I got to where at a 90-degree angle, I could do a chin up, and
Mhm.
then I just kept on holding on to the pull-up bar. I would do step ups, but try to do as much resistance as possible,
Uh-huh.
with one leg. It's hard to explain. I'd have to, like, videotape
I
myself.
know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, so I do step ups just, but with as much resistance as possible, and then eventually I could do a chin up from the bottom step. Again, like, not 100% straight, but like that, like, mostly
Yeah.
like, almost straight, and then I was like,
Yeah.
"What?" I couldn't believe it. That was at the end of last year, and I couldn't believe I
Yeah.
could do it, but it was
That's
that
awesome.
little progression, and then this year, I managed to do my first pull-up, but in addition to that, I also do, like, push-ups and just, like, I don't know, I use 10-pound weights, like, I'm very newbie at this, like, but it's just, like, those little tiny tweaks help me
Mhm.
progress to getting there, but I couldn't do
Absolutely.
it before. I couldn't do it a year ago, and I kept trying.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And you
That's
kept trying,
amazing.
that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's like it doesn't take you don't have to work out for 2 hours, right? Like, it doesn't
Mm-mm.
take as much as
No.
Nope.
people, I think people get scared it's just like it's like Malazan or these huge books, right? They get scared off at how daunting it feels, but it's not that bad, you know? You
No,
do a
Honestly,
and
little
I
dude,
bit
really
and
don't spend very much time doing any of it.
yeah,
Not much time at all. Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
and
sure.
as an adult, I think gosh, I could talk about this. Okay, but as an adult, 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes to an hour for me, maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes. 3 days a week, full body is like so great for my schedule and it just
Sure.
feels good to hit everything rather than do like a bro split, which
Yeah.
is like everything twice a week. Or no, everything every 2 basically you're doing everything 6 days a week. That's just for me as an adult, I just like I don't have time for that. And
Right, it's all gotta be optimized within your constraints, right, is what
yeah.
I do like I guess I'm essentially a personal trainer, but the, that's always what it is, like, we know what's best on paper, quote, unquote, but, like, if that doesn't work for your schedule, then it's pretty useless, right? We gotta always work within that, and then just people have different goals, right? Not everybody wants to be as strong as possible or as muscular as possible. They just wanna, get a little bit stronger, be able to run around with their kids or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So, yeah, that's
Talk
awesome.
about mom strength. That
Yeah,
makes
dude.
that is and that's not a joke, like, that's a real thing, and I see a lot of moms, you can tell they're built,
Mhm.
like, just carrying their kids. I don't know,
Yeah.
that's a workout in and of itself. I know that sounds crazy, but it truly is.
I
Oh,
believe
100%.
it.
Like, even my
I believe
sister-in-law,
it.
like, she lifts her kids. Like, I know she doesn't work out, but
Mhm.
she works out because
Yeah,
raising her kids is a workout.
for
Um,
sure, for sure. And as the kid gets bigger, they're heavier and you pick them up. It's progressive
exactly.
overload right there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 I think that's, like, the one thing I think I've gotten the right idea about when it comes to weightlifting is it's not about trying to do as heavy as possible. It's mostly about meeting your constraints, like you said, like where
Mhm.
you are, and just pushing within your limits
Yeah.
with until
That
you
goes
can, like,
even with
yeah.
reading books, you know? Hey, you don't have to read all of Wheel of
Hmm.
Time or Malazan in one go as your first book, you know?
Yeah.
One book at a time.
There you go.
Thomas,
Baby
did you
steps.
did you finish Wheel of Time? Is that
I
accurate?
did. Yeah.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
loved it?
I loved it, and
Mm.
I love the slog even
Me
more.
too. There is no slog. I'll die on
There
that
is no
hill.
slog. I think the more I think about it, the more I realize how much I love the slog because even books 1 through 3 are great, but I think 4 and 6 I like less because it's so heavy
Mm.
information overload, whereas books
Mm,
7 through 10, I'm living in the world with the characters. I'm in
mm.
Mm.
it. I'm not
Mhm.
having to learn about all these names. Yeah, you're
Mhm.
learning names all the time, but
Mhm.
you're in it. You just get to sit with the characters and it's
Mm.
Yeah.
nice. It's like, okay, I've earned it. Whereas
Mm.
4, 5, and 6, so much happens, so much information is given to you, and you're not really knowing exactly what's going to be happening. But yeah, that was a nice treat and reward. And then that just the chef's kiss of an ending by Sanderson.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. One of the best endings I've personally
Yep.
read, I think, to a series. I have one small complaint with the where we left one character.
I
That's my
have I
only
have two, but they don't ruin anything for me. And also, I just texted my friend yesterday, like, I can read 14 more books with one particular character. Um, I can read 14 more books
who was
in
your
that same
favorite
world.
who was your favorite of like our main POV?
Matt, oh gosh, I love them all.
Yeah, it's tough.
But I will say there is one character let's say Perrin. This is the story that I wish. This is Perrin, basically, right here.
Mm.
Oh, wow. So you think Fitz is like Perrin?
There's parallels. You've read Wheel of Time, right?
I haven't.
Oh,
That's
shoot. Okay,
yeah,
well, then there
no.
we go. I can't really say anything.
Oh, that's fine.
There's totally different characters, but I'm saying, like, I feel like Perrin didn't get enough. He was still pushed to the side the most part. So this series is like, this is what Perrin, how his story should have been told, in my opinion.
Interesting.
But
okay.
That's another video.
That's fair. I'm a big Rand was always my favorite. I
Yeah,
thought
he's great.
his emotional journey through the series was unbelievable.
The weight of responsibility and nations, it's just so well done. Nothing felt forced.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I could read it again right now.
I'll read it again at some point for sure. I think
Same.
when did I finish it? I think I finished it. I want to say it was like 2018 or 2019, but it had taken me years to read it. I was reading very, very slowly at the
Yeah.
time. So like there's a lot of it blends together. Like I remember certain events from certain books and I can place which book it is, but a lot of it, it's just Wheel of Time, and it's just kind of in this weird swirl of events. But that's one I'm very excited to reread because I think I'll there's a lot of stuff that I've probably forgotten
So much.
since I did it.
And
So.
to appreciate the foreshadowing
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the genius. And I don't think Jordan gets enough credit. I really, I think,
especially now.
no one talks about him. And yeah, everyone talks about Tolkien. I know. And I haven't even read the books. Call me crazy, and I shouldn't have an opinion on this.
Wait, hold on. Say that one more time.
I haven't read Lord of the Rings yet.
Okay.
But
okay.
It's
That's
only
fine.
from the conversations I'm having, and I'm strictly talking about like the emotional hype and how, like, yes, Lord of the Rings kind of started it all. But I just don't think people are giving enough credit to other authors and attention to other authors that are in the fantasy genre. Because it's always just Tolkien. From what I'm seeing. And I'm talking about just everyday conversation, not even booktube.
Okay, fair.
And it's like, guys, have you read Robin Hobb? And I know I'm only 100 pages in, but it's like 1995. Have you read that? Have you read Jordan? But I don't know. That's just my opinion. That I feel like we need to give a little more credit to other authors and more attention because Tolkien is the grandfather of it all, overshadowing everyone.
Yeah.
And that's great, but there's just so much more to fantasy.
There is. That's part of
that's the beauty of it, though.
It is. Yeah, and that's also one of the beauties of BookTube is we get to try to declare our love for all these. Anyone who watches my channel knows that I'm trying to put Janie Wirtz's name out there on that same level.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like I think different channels have their different authors they gravitate more to that they really seem to push a lot, which is awesome and exactly what you're saying, just showing more love to more people and hopefully eventually that can break through into more of the mainstream circles like Tolkien did and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I have an author I think both of you might enjoy that I feel like could get talked about more. I don't know, it does get talked about quite a bit in this corner. Guy Gavriel Kay.
I really want to read some. I think I'll love it.
Guy Gavriel Kay. Guy Gavriel Kay was, I think, I want to say, and people can correct me in the chat, I want to say he was also the editor or co-editor for the Silmarillion by Tolkien.
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal prose writer, perfect slow burn experience. Talk about evocative prose and what was it? Somebody said, I think Josh from Red Fury said that Janie Wirtz called it something like nostalgic beauty or something like that. He's one of Janie Wirtz's favorite writers.
Yeah.
And he has quotes on the back of her books too.
Yeah.
But yes, Guy Gavriel Kay, and also standalones. He writes a lot of standalones.
That's Mike's nice. Book reviews always is like, hey, can we normalize the trilogy and the standalone in fantasy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well, Guy Gabriel Kay. I
yeah.
There you
highly
go.
recommend, starting actually, I think so Lions of Alberson is where I started, and I thought that was excellent. It's somewhat, like, analogous to medieval Spain. I don't even know much about history. I'm not a
Mm,
big
Me
history buff.
either.
I wish
Yeah.
I were. I
same.
wish I were, but I didn't feel like I ever needed to be
It's the
Mhm.
trends
in
of
order to
history
be.
that I think we're all able to grasp and we recognize it in everyday life that I look for rather than the minute details of like the Roman Empire's impact on modern civilization. Like I don't focus on that, you know.
Yeah, yeah. But I would say, either Lions of Alberson, if that
Okay.
sounds interesting to you, or A Song for Our Bone. For some reason, I think Jake, A Song for Our Bone. I don't know
Okay.
why. I feel like that was my favorite book of a couple years ago.
Okay.
But I just
Wow.
keep thinking, I think you would love that book. And
Okay.
for you,
That's
Thomas, I keep thinking A Brightness Long Ago. It's a little bit shorter, but I don't know why. Like, those are the vibes I keep feeling for the
cool.
two of you.
I love it. It's definitely I have a list of GGK books I want to get to, and that's definitely on there. So when I do it, I'll make sure that's the first one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and what I think you would both love about GGK, he loves to feature artists as protagonists.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, and he
Okay.
loves to artists. He brings artists together as protagonists, and he
Mm.
also he also has this profound gift for bringing characters from different backgrounds or different places in the world who find each other and who connect with one another, and like his found family connections, they are usually in adulthood. Like, he usually actually has a range
Oh,
of ages,
cool.
like, he has a couple of characters that are a little younger, but for the most part, he builds friendships in adulthood, and I don't feel like that's as common in fantasy. I
Ooh.
Yeah.
feel like
There's always
most
coming
of
of
the
age
time when you
stories.
have those found family connections, they're, like, teenagers, so he's such a good writer, though.
That
He's such a good writer.
have you guys seen the movie I Love You Man with Paul
Oh yeah.
Rudd?
Yeah.
So it's just you saying that, John, and then it makes me think of that movie and something that I think about now. I'm like, making friends as an adult is such a weird concept. Like it's where everyone's so busy, and it's just like it's a weird thing. So I that sounds like something I'd really appreciate in his books. Those deep connections just of older people doing that would be cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so good, and I know John from Talking Story also loved A Song for a Bone.
Mm.
Josh from Ed Fury also, he and I both share A Song for a Bone as our favorite, Guy Gabriel Kay book. Uh, but A Brightness Long Ago, that's the one I just recently read, and it was such a good spring fantasy. Like, if I
Oh,
think of a good
Hmm.
spring fantasy, I think Last Unicorn, and I think A Brightness Long Ago, and they're
okay.
standalones. So,
Cool.
I think both of you, I was like, I cannot get through this Why Read
Yeah.
episode without recommending Guy Gabriel Kay to both of you.
Yeah,
Got it right here.
he's still writing, isn't he?
Yes, he has a
Yeah.
a book coming out very soon. I think people are already getting
Nice.
arcs to it. Mhm.
Oh wow, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's
his
amazing.
the only thing about his books, the only thing I would say, the only caveat is that he doesn't use a lot of magic in his stories. There's always just a little bit, but it isn't a
Cool.
secondary world,
It's
so it's
okay.
still fantasy, but it's not as heavy in magic.
Yeah.
Only
Cool.
thing. Except for Tigana. Tigana is his most magical book, but I do not recommend starting with Tigana. Even though I loved
Hmm.
Tigana personally, I don't recommend starting with that one. I would recommend starting with one of his other ones.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, Aw, thank you so much. That is so kind of you, Alex. Appreciate the $5.
Um, I know we've been going on for a while. There's one thing we touched upon blurbs on books and like whether we trust that or not. But there's certain authors when I do see their blurb or when I see them actually review a book on Goodreads, it's like if this author likes that book, that means something. And
Mhm.
whenever I see Robin Hobb say, you know, this book is really good or that book is really good, I'm just like, okay, I'm listening. And she
Sure.
said The Black Tongue Thief is phenomenal. And I even think,
She spoke about Guy Gabriel Kay recently too, because I know Josh
okay,
from Red Fairy Books said, like, posted about Twitter how she said
okay,
they did some kind of admiration back and forth or something with each other.
yeah,
And, Janny Words, her favorite book, I think one of her favorite books of all time is The Lions of Alberson by Guy
Oh
Gabriel.
really? Mm.
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
If Janny likes it, you know.
She loved
That's
it.
that's one like what you were just saying about Hobbit. Like if I see her stamp of approval somewhere, I'm like, oh, okay, this
Yeah.
is
Mhm.
this is
Yeah.
probably good.
If I see
Yeah.
George R. R. Martin, I'm just like, eh. Like, honestly, like, which is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, his blurb is right here. How fantasy as it ought to be written, which I could trust maybe because I think there are some similarities, but there's certain names. I think Hobb. I don't know why. She's
Yeah.
just so gentle. I've watched interviews of her, and I really love her as a just as she speaks and as she writes. And when I see that name, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I trust that name. I trust
There you go.
that opinion.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm
The
being asked about Kindles here. I don't know if you all use a
I
Kindle or Kobo or
I do still have my Kindle. I
I
didn't
still have
make the
my sister's
switch.
Kindle.
Um, I have no philosophical reason behind why I didn't switch. It's pure laziness,
Mhm.
and that I already had one. I didn't want to waste the money,
Same.
and a lot of like self-pub books seem like they're easier to get on Kindle. Also, um, that was it. I totally understand why people switch. I think it's a very valid reason. I didn't even back up my ebooks or whatever when Amazon did whatever they did. I was just
Either.
like, I just can't be bothered to take the
Yeah.
time to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm the same way.
I'm
Yeah.
a physical guy. Just physical.
Nice.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's the
I
best.
like the Kindle. I am glad that I got it purely because I was like, if I'm ever on a plane or something, I
It's
want to have
perfect
something
for
that's
traveling. Yeah.
lighter. Or, but then I found out I can hop on the elliptical and have it there in front of me. I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice.
It's so
So
nice for
It's
that.
lightweight. You
yeah,
can read at night. It's
yeah,
not harsh on the eyes. It's
yeah.
great.
It is great. I
Really.
use it a lot more than I thought that I would, but I'll
Yeah.
always be a physical elitist for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same. I was gifted my Kindle just like a couple of years ago for Christmas, and I don't know. I'm probably gonna just keep it until it stops functioning.
Yeah, yeah, same.
But I do
Yeah,
understand and respect people's reasons for switching to something different as well.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
Well, I know we've been going on for over 2 hours. I wanna respect your all's time, but thank you
I
so
love
much
it.
for just this wonderful discussion. I feel like I could just keep talking to you all, so
Yeah.
thank
yeah,
you so
same.
much.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, this was awesome.
Thank
And
you.
Thomas, it was awesome to meet you. I know John and I've talked to you in comments and stuff here and there before,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's great to meet you and hear from you and just hear your journey, both of you. Thank you for having me. And this is great. This feels
yeah,
just like friends catching up, honestly.
It
yeah,
does. It does.
for sure.
Yes, and I hope it won't be the last time that I
Yeah.
Same.
have you back on my channel, both of
Yeah,
you. And I know,
absolutely.
Jake, I'm gonna see you pretty soon because we're gonna be in a Book of the New Sun
Yeah,
discussion,
so excited.
next Saturday. I think that's on Talking Stories channel,
Oh,
for
wow.
Shadow and
That's
Claw.
another book I want to read.
Oh, yeah.
It's awesome, dude. You talk about atmosphere, like
Yes.
right off the bat. Yeah.
I
One
don't
did you
want to
finish
do
it, Jake?
a Midwestern goodbye, but I mean, we could keep doing this.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, no,
Okay.
but Book of the
Yeah.
New
So
Sun,
funny.
definitely.
Are you from the Midwest?
No, my friend, he's like, hey, we're doing a Midwestern goodbye because every time we about to hang up, we get into these little tangents. It's like, okay, now,
Yeah.
all right, now, bub, talk to you later.
It's so true.
Canadian. And,
I was in the Midwest my whole life, right? Up until a couple of years ago. It's so true. That's how it always, and it wouldn't be so cold if it wasn't for the wind. Or like there's just so many little sayings that are hilarious. Yeah.
I love it.
I'm a Southwest girl. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, chat. We love you. And until next time, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.